everyone, and welcome to Smashbox TV's podcast number 52. I'm your host, Terry Miller, the disc golf guy, joined here in studio in front of our non-live audience. This is Johnny V.
Do we have a dead audience?
We might as well. No, I think we've got tons of smashies out there on the board, taking it all in. We're so glad that you guys could join us here tonight. It is Tuesday, September 8th. We never give out the date. Have you ever thought about that?
It's kind of irrelevant. I mean, maybe in the long run, do people really want to go back and know what the date is?
I think it helps because it kind of places us in a time and space of some sort.
Sure.
So you could be like, oh, yeah.
So generations from now, when people go back and watch these, they have a general idea of what was happening in 2015.
Exactly.
It's not a bad idea. I'm not against it.
Well, good.
There are certain ideas you've had that I've been against. This isn't one of them.
I had a clever idea just moments before the show started. You want to share with everyone?
As far as the camera?
Yes, we switched up our cameras.
We switched up our cameras because last week we've been kind of pushing out via our little webcam that we use for Skype mainly. But Terry has an on-the-road unit that I purchased for him that lets us plug our really nice camera in. So we decided we'd use that. Yeah. Because you're not using it.
You purchased for me like you're my sugar daddy or something. No. Well, okay, not entirely. So
the company purchased it. We'll put it that way.
So yes, we are able to use one of our production cameras, and so if you're taking it in on the YouTubes, we hope that you enjoy it. We did get a little bit of feedback saying that there was either some clarity issues or fuzziness or focus. So hopefully our new camera and our new setup is a good way to do it. Please go out and click on us in 720. Upgrade your signal on the bottom right-hand corner in the gear screen. And if you're listening to us on a podcast, instead of clicking on us on the gear, just simply turn up the volume 3 or 4 notches because you're going to want to take this all in nice and loud. You're going to want to step inside the Smashbox nice and loudly.
I think it echoes in the Smashbox.
It might. So this week we've got some people out on the board. We're glad that you guys could be tuned in. We're going to have what might be a light show unless something comes up.
Sure.
We don't have a lot in the cooker. Is that where you would put it?
No, it was a kind of a quiet week, I'd say. There were a lot of A tiers, but there's no NTs, there's no majors, and the A tiers were pretty spread out. So there wasn't a huge conglomerate of top pros in any particular place. We're going to let Dana talk more about this. Mm-hmm. But yeah, there were just a lot of A tiers and not a lot of news.
Yeah, and you and I were both out competing in a tournament up in northern Wisconsin at Sandy Point Resort and Disc Golf Ranch. That's sandypt.com. There's your plugs.
Heaven
guys,
on earth, as they say.
As they say. Yeah, it's a very magical place, though, in northern Wisconsin. It is on private property owned by Mike and Michelle Cousins. And 27 holes. You can play usually 25 of them during the summer. The 2 waterfront holes are usually not in play simply because there's so many other people doing boating activities and swimming off of the beach and jumping off the rafts and things of that nature. So usually you're not allowed to play the 2 waterfront holes during the peak season. However, check out Sandy Point and Disc Golf Ranch. It's an amazing place. It's very cool. Johnny V, we'll get this right out of the way rather than Dana razzing us later. Johnny V and I played together.
We did.
And you'd say that was our first time?
As far as I can remember.
That was our first?
That was our first. We've played other tournament rounds together. Yep. But we've been going up to Sandy Point for myself since 98, I think was my first year. I believe I've missed 1 year since 98.
Okay. And
as far as I can remember, we have never played a tournament round there together.
Wow.
And usually, 99% of the time, it's because you're ahead of me. At least the second round. It used to be a 3-round event, whatever. We maybe have played one, and I don't recall. You don't seem to remember at any particular time. But yeah, we got to play our second round together, our second and final round together.
Yes, and it was so the format for the A pool, anyone playing in the Pro Division, Pro Masters, or in this case in the Advanced as well. But anyone in the A pool played Saturday afternoon. You played 27 holes. And then again, we played Saturday morning, 27 holes. We were done for the day. That's when the B pool, all the other divisions go out and compete on the course, on the long course as it's called. And then they move up some of the baskets at night. There's Glow that takes place on Saturday night. And then on Sunday morning, the B pool goes back out. They play their last round, their second and final round. And then the A pool goes out there around 12:30, 1 o'clock. on Sunday afternoon. So you and I, along with Chris Brenholtz.
Who I played with first round. Very nice guy. Many of you, he's an Illinois guy. Some people say he's Lauren Lakeberg's better half.
Yes, which is, well, I don't know what better half.
Other half.
There you go.
Because Lauren is phenomenal.
Lauren is one of the most prolific photographers we have in disc golf.
Yep.
And I know I've been kind of scolded for always referring to
That's why
some people as
why I did it.
some people as other people's boyfriends or girlfriends, usually girlfriends. And in this case, sorry, Chris, but Lauren's the higher profile.
She is
Name here.
She is.
And Lauren Lakeberg, who does all these amazing photos on lelphotography.com. She was out there competing as well, and we were playing with her boyfriend. So Chris Brenholtz, who played very, very well.
Yeah,
ended up shooting the hottest out of anyone in our group, and one of the hottest rounds of the entire second round, actually.
That's right.
So, and we played with him, and then our fourth competitor on the card.
Who was it?
I don't know. I have to think about it.
I know. I was trying to think too.
Who did we play with?
Hartman. Chris Hartman.
Oh, yeah, Chris Hartman.
Chris Hartman, who had a very forgettable round. I'm sure he'd like to forget it. We'd like to forget seeing it. He no doubt he would say that it was the theme of his round was, I've never been in a worse spot.
Yes, he said that a number of
times. He'd throw a disc and go, and this is a really wooded course. Any little kick can kick you way into the middle of nowhere. A lot of times he just said, this is a new worse spot for me.
Yeah, he did say
and
that
it
quite
progressively
a few times.
got worse.
And when it was all said and done, Johnny V had edged me out by 3 strokes or 4? 3.
It depends if you count my score.
You cheated. You son of a... So when we're all done...
We're adding up scorecards.
And I see that somehow I have a 4 listed on one of the shortest and easiest holes on the course, which unfortunately I earned. But then a 4 on the following hole, on hole 5.
Big Anheuser uphill. Not big, but long Anheuser uphill.
Anyway, and I didn't recall taking a bogey there.
And I had the card.
And you wrote me down for a bogey.
I wrote you down for a bogey. And I'm glad you caught it, clearly. So instead of a 2 down, you actually shot a 3 down. We went through. We asked your caddy. We asked Chris Brenholtz, who was on the card. I couldn't remember. Either I wrote down the wrong score, just thinking the wrong score, or you said the wrong score, like you thought you took a 4 for some reason. But clearly, we're pretty sure you took a 3. So we changed it at the end. And you ended up shooting a 3 down. I shot a 6 down. I took you to Pound Town, as our friend would say.
I had you by 1 going into the round.
You had me by 1 going into round.
So ultimately, you got me by 2 strokes.
Yep. And
good job.
I was going to say, ultimately, I don't think either of us were extremely happy with that round.
No.
But my 927 rated beat your 955 rating.
Yeah.
It's just how it rolls.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Great.
No, it's not very often.
So, and what was funny, too, just real quick about we were able to reasonably deduct as to the as to the scoring error, because we actually recalled that although there were 3 birdies on hole 4, that by the time we got to hole 6, Chris Hartman, who again had struggled, he was last on the tee.
He was Bob.
And because of that, even though I had bogeyed hole 4, blah, 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 again, by some reasonable deduction, we found that you were totally cheating and pencil whipping.
I pencil whipped you.
There's names for people like you. Joliet residents, all right? That's what.
Wow.
Ouch. We're just kidding. All right.
Speaking of Illinois residents, I think we have a guest that we'll bring on right now.
That was a planned segue.
After you've offended the entire state of Illinois again.
Again, that's what I do.
Boom goes the dynamite.
And
here's our floating head, Dana Dynamite Vitchie.
How we doing tonight, Dana?
I've got a body. I'm more than just a floating head.
I wasn't sure what was on that body, if there was anything, or you just never know with you.
Some people talked this weekend about the Shirtless Dana episode.
Yeah.
And tonight, you're sporting a good cause, the St. Jude Disc Golf Charity Invitational. Of course, a great event back in May. I know it's already on the schedule for 2016. And we're definitely looking forward to it, hoping that disc golfers can raise more than the $250,000 that we raised this year. Dana, we didn't see you this weekend. Everybody was disappointed.
I was.
I was. Everybody else was. The whole world was. What were you up to, buddy?
Yeah. It's just a tough weekend for me. Historically, we've gone up to Michigan with family, and we also had a wedding on Saturday, and so disc golf, competitive disc golf, was not in the cards for me this weekend. I do love me some Sandy Point though.
Speaking of Michigan, though, there was some very competitive disc golf going on in Michigan. The few updates I was able to see on the social medias, I noticed that there was just a ton of golfers and a lot of things going on over in Michigan. Do you have any of those details for us?
Yeah, the Michigan State Finals, which is year in and year out one of the biggest B tiers of the year. I'd have to go back and look, but I want to say there's more than 500 players, and takes quite a bit of effort and a bunch of courses. They play up in the Ludington area and Shelby. They play Flip City, Beauty and the Beast. I think that's in Ludington, and probably another couple courses that I'm not mentioning. But let's see. Paul Ulibarri actually made his way up there. Him and Kat. Kat held it down and got the win on the ladies' side, beating some of those good Michigan women disc golfers. And Ulibarri was unable to snag the title away from a Michigander. And Jeff Bennett, Geoff, actually won his fifth. That's five. His fifth ever Michigan State title. And
Wow.
I believe Yuli ended up in third place, and right around there was John Perry and he tied with Jamie Mosier, maybe. Yeah, tied with Jamie Mosier and Tim Barnum, or Barham. Got second place. So
some very solid golfers in that area. Now, you just mentioned a bunch of names, and I think that's what we'll see as a theme throughout a lot of the country. Sure, Ulibarri may have been one of the few traveling guys there, but I think what would be consistent is regional pros kind of seem to be the theme throughout the weekend. You know, up in Wisconsin, for instance, we had mostly regional pros. We had one ringer in Cale Laviska that came over. But I think a lot of these tournaments over this weekend, we just saw a lot of regional action. And kind of funny, we actually saw Matt Aller, if you hear me, that is, Matt Aller travel all the way from Detroit area past the Michigan State's event into northern Wisconsin simply because he loves coming up to Sandy Point so much, and, you know, originally from the Illinois area. But and Cale leaving Minnesota to come over to Wisconsin. So you see a little bit of shifting, but for the most part, it seemed like a lot of people stay local this weekend.
Yeah, and, you know, for someone like Cale, you see quite a few Minnesota players up there. Probably not as many as there are Illinois players. It seems like there's just a ridiculous amount of Illinois disc golfers going to Sandy Point every year, but the Twin Cities are not very far. And Cale, he came down, and I can't say I was surprised. I don't think anybody should be surprised if they've ever watched Cale play. He, at least recently, he throws his putters. He throws a PA2 and then the M4. He throws those on shots that people are throwing fairways and distance drivers on. He's just incredibly accurate with those discs. And Sandy Point is basically all mid-range and putter shots, even in the long pin placements.
I lost $10 on a bet.
Yeah, Johnny V here.
I took there was a bet offered up to me for $10. Cale versus the field, and I had I had the field. I figured there were 48 other golfers, or 47 other golfers, 4 of which probably had a good chance to beat him. The other ones, not so much. And Keith Warren was up there, and that was kind of my savior.
Keith Warren, Chris Herron.
Chris Herron could have
on a good weekend.
On a good weekend.
A few of your J-Town guys on a good weekend.
Yep.
Couple other Minnesota guys.
Yep. And so
Zach Kobus, who shot really well and was
leading, has been playing very well lately. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so I lost that bet. Cale won.
Yep. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, so Kale, he definitely shredded it too. He shot 2 really great rounds, and then, as you guys said, Zach Kobus finished well, finishing second. And did Al? Al might have. I think Al got third place. So
Yeah, he may have snuck in there. I know he shot a really good second round. He was playing with our pal Steve Held, so the pair of lefties, and Al, I know, shot a really good round from
Yeah.
what Steve was saying.
Yeah, Al snuck into third, followed by Brent Holtz, who was on our card.
Yeah.
nice. So yeah, regional pros. There were some other events that I think that one of the things, a lot of that we didn't see. One of the reasons we didn't see a lot of touring pros, seems like they're all kind of resting up and gearing up for the Hall of Fame Classic, and then a few weeks. I guess we're almost a month away from the U.S. So this was a good weekend to hang back and to do family stuff and take a weekend away. But there were some touring pros out and about, and we saw Ulibarri. I mean, Ulibarri was in. He's crazy. He was literally in at Solitude last weekend out in Utah, which he flew to, and then flew back to wherever, and then drove up with Cat, probably from Tennessee to Michigan. I don't know why. Then now they're going down to Georgia.
Yep.
I don't know.
Road Warriors.
Yeah, trying to get all those.
They're great, and you know what? Those two are probably going to go and play all the way through December. They're going to hit the Carolina tournaments late in the year, where they have the Charleston Classic and Tupelo Bay, and then probably you'll see their names in Texas, and then they go home, and then they play a bunch more tournaments at home because the weather's good out in Arizona.
Yeah, Arizona can afford to have those December, January, early February events that a lot of other places can't. It's nonstop for them. I guess that's what a job is.
That's what touring can do for you, I guess.
Yeah.
We saw, speaking of doing a little bit of touring, we saw Henrik Johansson take down his first A tier this weekend up in Canada. So international traveler and player. He's obviously been touring around the U.S. pretty extensively for the last few years, and now goes into Canada and takes down his first A-tier win in a field of 19.
Yeah. It was even though it was a smaller field, there were some solid players, and I don't think looking back at thinking back to the results, Henrik wasn't winning until it was all said and done. A guy, Martin Hendel, who's a Canadian, seems to be Canada's top player at the moment, was winning the event all weekend. And then I looked after the final round, and there Henrik was. Sounded like he saved his best round for last, and got himself his first A tier. And he was not the only person winning his first A tier over the weekend.
What? There were more?
More A tiers?
More winners? First time ever?
Yeah.
Tell us
there
who,
were
Dana.
A tiers on A tiers. North Dakota, Norway, Colorado, California, Finland, Canada, Virginia. And then there was an AM-only A tier in Florida.
Holy cow.
Oh, we missed it.
Yes. I don't know if our chances would have been any better there.
No, probably not.
No.
No, I think, yeah, never mind. But so I'm going to start out talking about the event that had the hardest course. Can you guys guess, out of the states or countries I just named, which had the hardest course?
I'm looking at the events right now.
I'm gonna real quickly chime in with, I'll say what I've known as to be one of the most fun courses and fun places to be
That's not the question.
would be Blockhouse, but I don't know.
I'm gonna go Spotsylvania.
Yeah, I don't know if
Because-
that's the toughest though.
No?
Dana, you would know out of all those, maybe.
No, I've played the dark side there at the Blockhouse, which I believe is the harder of the two. I didn't play Sunnyside.
Okay.
but no, that wasn't quite the toughest course of the weekend. It was actually in North Dakota.
Okay.
Really?
North Dakota.
The North Dakota State Championships, Dickinson, North Dakota.
Yep. Patterson Lake, designed by Daryl Nodlin. Daryl's one of those legends that you hear about. One of the guys who could have been great. I mean, he's a great player, but he could have been, supposedly competed with Climo and all that. But instead, he went the family life route and job route. But he's still very active in disc golf, and he runs a few events every year in North Dakota, and then also plays anywhere from 1 to 3 or 4 events. But I actually got to play one of his tournaments a few years back, the Badlands Open at Patterson Lake, and he ran an incredible tournament. He was a very, very, very good tournament director. He did a lot of those extra things, and just was very, on top of that, was a very, very genuine person, and all in all, ran a great event. So Patterson Lake, as I mentioned, he designed, and it's literally one of the toughest courses in the world when he sets it up for tournaments. He adds some rope and really lengthens the course out, puts it in the pins in its long positions, and they play the long tees and all that. And I should add that the rope, the artificial out of bounds, is for the most part really well thought out. Daryl definitely knows what he's doing with that. But on paper, the North Dakota State Championships looked to be a 3-horse race, and that would be between, from my eyes, Daryl Nodlin, Christian Dietrich, who came down from Missoula, Montana. Talked about Christian last week on the show. And then Peter McBride, legacy sponsored player from California, he's on tour with Tim McDill at the moment. I've met Peter a couple times. Very nice player, and seems to be a very good player. Do you know Peter at all?
I do, and I think to add some other adjectives in there when you're talking about Peter, I think one of the ones that stands out is just how young he is. He is a very young guy, and he's been on tour this year, as you said, with Tim McDill. Very polite, very fun to be around, very soft-spoken, just a really good, genuine guy. We saw him perform well at the Mad City Open a few weeks ago here in Madison, Wisconsin, at that A-tier. And he's just an all-around really nice guy. He's a solid pickup for Legacy, and I think we're going to continue to see really big things from him. So add all the other things you said, plus then he's still young to the game. So I think he's got a really bright future ahead of him.
But doesn't the name Peter McBride sound like an older name? Like I picture a mid-30s kind of guy with the name Peter. Just not as common for younger names.
Yeah,
so.
No, I guess I'd give you that. I mean, and then when you think of solid players in our game, you think of a Peter Shive, who is on the
way other end of the spectrum.
Yes, Peter Shive being a little more experienced in his years.
Sure. Very
decorated player, of course, one of the best out there, but very experienced in his years. So, yeah, and then speaking of, how about, here's a little history question for you, Dana. Name the Peter that won the U.S. Am Nationals title a number of years ago and has since then, recently after that anyway, or shortly after that, has more or less disappeared off the face of the disc golf map. Do you know who I speak of? Anyone on the board? You got to be a little bit of a old schooler.
Well, McCoy throws a name out there.
McCoy nails it. I don't know. Very nice job, Kevin McCoy. Dana, we're going to give you 5 more seconds.
I know who it is, but off the top of my head, I am...
Pete Cougar Middlecamp.
Yes.
Yes. Peter Middlecamp.
Oh,
It's a blast from the past.
And kind of funny, I actually forgot his last name myself. I just knew it was Peter, so it's kind of really asking. But
So you were really just fishing.
I was a little bit, and Kevin McCoy reeled it in. That obviously came to mind as well. I knew I knew in my head who I was thinking of. I just couldn't think of the last name myself.
Pete
but
from Minnesota, right?
yes, Pete
Yep.
Middlecamp won the U.S. Am Nationals title very early on. He might have been one of the first 2 or 3 winners of that event, if not the first winner, for all I remember.
Might have been the first.
And ended up ultimately kind of disappearing from the scene. I think the last time I saw Pete Middlecamp might have been the 2005 Pro Worlds taking place over in Allentown, Pennsylvania. So
Sure.
a little bit more history for you guys. All right, we're going to move on. Dana, what else do you got on your A-tier swing?
I'm upset. I'm a little upset with myself that I couldn't throw out the Pete Middlecamp.
I'm a little disappointed in you, too. Not going to lie.
I have some stories I've heard about him, but I'm not going to slander his name.
No, we're not going to go there. I just, that was...
You're on the show.
That was
maybe those are reasons there may be some reasons why you don't see him.
I know those same stories, but no, I just looking for another name, thinking of Peters out there on tour. So
yeah.
anyway,
Well, good work, McCoy.
yes, very nice. All right, how about
okay.
did you check in on our boy Scotty Tuhati, our transplant from Wisconsin that went out to California? Did you check in on him this weekend?
Oh, big whoop. He got like 8th place. Who cares about Scotty?
Well, okay, not him, but how about the tournament he attended where
Well, I mean,
one of my favorite little spoons was?
I haven't even told you who won in North Dakota.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you did.
No.
Okay,
No.
well, okay.
Stop cutting the man off.
All right, let's hear it.
Yeah, you had to go and stump me. But
Threw him off.
so yeah, out there at Patterson Lake, Peter McBride popped off a 1070 rated first round, but only had a narrow lead over Dietrich, who was 3 behind him. And Dietrich cut it down to 1 after the second round. And going into the third and final round, McBride was up 1 and then had a handful over Daryl Nodlin. And McBride just absolutely slaughtered everybody. He shot a smoking round and picked up his first A-tier win, winning by 8 over Dietrich. So he was winning by 1 going into the round, so he beat Christian by 7 that round, and then finishing in third was Daryl Nodlin. So congratulations to Peter McBride for your first A-tier win ever. Unless I don't know, McCoy, are you out there? Has McBride ever won an A-tier? Am I messing up here?
I'm looking right now. I'm not seeing one this year or last year.
What
I'm
don't
pretty
we
sure
pay you for
it's
here,
not.
Dana? Come on.
No, I'm pretty sure you're right on. You're spot on with that. At least we'll say as an open player.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, it looks like
Yeah, that's what I refer to when
Yeah.
I'm talking about A-tier wins.
Correct.
So, Terry, you wanted to head out to the West Coast to the End of the Trail Classic. And, Scotty Tuhati back at it playing disc golf. Usually see him out at the Northwoods where he's a contender. But out in California, looks like not so much this last weekend.
No, he played all right. He certainly is, like you said, getting back into the swing of things. And I wasn't just necessarily calling out Scotty Tuhati, although it is funny to see him transplanted out to California. But solid field. And as I'm sure you were going to get to, Steve Rico, Nico LaCastro, Bobby Music rounding out the top 3. All very competitive names. All, anyone that could win on any given weekend. And seeing Steve Rico come out with a win, I think he's been struggling on tour. He said a few weeks ago that running clinics, running demonstrations, setting up the booth, breaking down the booth, doing all these other promoter and ambassador type activities have taken away from what he's used to in terms of when he's on the tour, he's able to practice a little bit more. And, and his game has kind of suffered for that, and he'd be the first to admit it. So he was excited to play well and to finish well, and he, like I said, he held off Nico LaCastro, who was his closest competitor, and then his touring buddy and one of his best friends in the world, Bobby Music, a handful of strokes behind him. So looks pretty cool. And then Michael Moulton Looks like he was finishing out the top foursome. AJ Risley, Kyle Ekman, Peter Goodwin, Andy Parkinson, Drew Gibson, Scotty Tuhati, all rounding out the top 10 or 12 or so. So very, very cool to see.
Yeah, and what was I going to say? I'm hoping to see some footage from this event, because I saw that Rico had posted on Facebook that it was a very, very tight race, and it was emotional and just crazy or something like that. So hopefully somebody was out recording that, and we'll get to enjoy that on YouTube at a later date.
I wonder if CCDG was out there. That's kind of their area, isn't it?
Yeah, it's somewhat in their neck of the woods. So I would be interested to hear if Central Coast or someone was out there. Hopefully, like you said, somebody was recording some of that sweet action taking place.
Yep.
Did you research any other A tiers out there?
Yeah. My boy Spike Heiser, Chuck Conley, he was out there taking over the famed Blockhouse, formerly known as the Grange. They had to change their name due to some other place being called the Grange.
Okay.
Something along
I was going to ask about that. Like,
what's that?
What's some of the quick history with the course and the property and some of the details out there for those who haven't visited?
It's a private facility. It's actually someone's house. They live out. There's actually a couple houses out there, a pool. I'm not sure how many people are living out there right now, but they also have they have 3 courses, and one of the courses is the world famous Tiki course, which might honestly be the greatest thing that I've ever played.
Wow.
It is literally miniature golf for disc golf. You're using full-size baskets. It's not mini golf. It's actual disc golf, but all the holes are, short, and they have all kinds of crazy circus-style holes. And the amount of work that they put in building all this stuff for the Tiki course it's mind-blowing. And if it couldn't get any cooler, they actually light up the whole thing at night, and you can play disc golf all night long on this incredibly fun little 18-hole track. And I would really like to get back out there sooner than later. Neither of you guys have been out there.
No,
I haven't.
It's definitely on the bucket list. Everybody talks about the Tiki course, and obviously the other golf that takes place out there. But you hear the Tiki course mentioned more often than not in reference to the property. So, someplace I definitely need to get to at some point. And any weekend, their big event is falling on the same weekend as the Northwoods Open at Sandy Point.
Right.
You're probably not going to pull me away from there, but some other weekend, I'd certainly love to get out there.
Yeah, and they actually, the course was open for anyone to come out and play, I think for a fee, but you know how disc golfers can be, and I believe over the past year or two it's been closed more often than it's been open, and this is one of the weekends that they open it back up for an event and for people to come out and camp and play the courses, because there is a campground out there, and most of the competitors camp, and it's it can turn into a pretty wild place. But unfortunately, some disc golfers down that way may have taken advantage of things, and they, I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe it's no longer open for day-to-day play. But the 2 other courses, there are Sunnyside, which I have not played. I believe that's the easier of the 2 full-size courses, and then the Dark Side. And they're both tough wooded courses, with the Dark Side being really tough. And I did get a chance to play that. It's a very fun and tight wooded course.
And someone on the board brought up a good point that the Tiki course at Blockhouse is the course where Michael Sale broke the record for most holes played in 24 hours. Yep. He played like 2,900 on September of 2014. So I don't know if that's that. He 114 aces to kind of put it mildly.
He had 114 aces?
Yes, he threw 114 aces during the record attempt. So it just shows what style of course it is. Everything's under 30 feet. No.
You can actually, there's a little like documentary type thing. I want to say McFly So High. It might be on his YouTube channel. So you can check out what Mike Sale accomplished. Mike from Illinois. One of the good Illinois people, Terry. I forgot to say something about your little Joliet reference earlier, but
I try to stop him. I try.
Yeah.
It's too easy.
Par for the course.
It'll be better next week after the Packers crush the Bears.
Yes.
Then we'll be able to make better references.
Oh,
So
Terry's a big sports and football fan.
I know what I need to know. All right, that's what matters.
Yeah. All right. Right. So back to the blockhouse. The dark side. Here's a little fact for you guys out there. It actually yielded the first ever 1100 rated round, and that was back in 2005 at the Virginia Open, which was an A tier, and young man back then named Brian Skinner from Virginia shot a 41, and that was 1115 rated, and many old school golfers, at least from the southern region, still will consider that one of the best rounds ever played. And you hear a lot of people talk about the Memorial when people shoot 1100 rated rounds. A lot of those guys will mention how much better Brian Skinner's round was than say Macbeth's 17 under whatever at Fountain Hills.
Yeah. Well, and I think that criticism or comparison maybe is a better word comes about because of the style of course that a lot of people say that if you can throw a 400 or 450 foot hyzer at Fountain Hills, you're putting yourself in a position to score well on virtually every hole out there if you have that capability. Whereas playing out at a course like you're describing is, we'll say, a little bit more Maple Hill-esque, in that, it requires a lot more shots, a lot more, obviously a lot more danger when you do get off the fairway, that type of thing. Is that what you're talking about when you're comparing them?
Yeah, and we're talking Maple Hill like hole 7, which is that real clean, tight wooded fairway. That's a very tough par 3. That's the kind of stuff that you're going to see at the dark side. And looking at this year's scores, no one really came close to. They played the two courses, the best round scored was a 46 by Dave Fehlberg, and that was a 1072 rated round. I'm going to go ahead and guess that was on the dark side, and I don't know. I could be wrong. If someone out there knows what the pros played and when, I would love to know. But he did nonetheless. Dave did shoot in the 40s all weekend. He went 49, 46, 48, 47, and he won by 11. And there were no it wasn't just a bunch of local homies out there partying. There were some world-class disc golfers, including Will Schustrick, Harry Schultz, Zach Melton, Devin Frederick, Cam Todd, just to name a few. So, I mean, he went out there and had a dominating performance. And this is actually, Fehlberg also won in Delaware at Iron Hill, which that's a very, very hard wooded course and one of the hardest courses out there. I guess now I'm talking about two of the hardest courses tonight. Yeah. Both the Patterson Lake and then Iron Hill in Delaware. But back to what I was saying, Fehlberg, that's 2 A tiers he's won this year, and they're both on very tight wooded courses. So kind of interesting.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, I'd like everyone to know I had, albeit a little bit late, I had sent a message over to Fehlberg to see if we could possibly get him on the show tonight. It looks like I may have missed him. I didn't get a response back from him. I also had reached out to Eagle McMahon, who had finished second at, I'm going to skip ahead of you a little bit, but finished second out in Colorado, I believe, to Joe Revere, which is always, I guess that's where I don't want to say an expected place, but Joe Revere is nearly unbeatable out there. So, and Eagle finished second to him. So I had reached out to Eagle, who said he was busy doing some other things tonight, and couldn't commit to being on here when we went live. And then, like I said,
let me guess, he's on the board right now.
I'm not going to say he's on the board, but he's probably on the board. And Eagle, that might have been your last shot, buddy. I've asked.
I told him last week. I reached out. I said, Eagle, when you're ready to make a name for yourself, and you want to come on Smashbox, you just let us know. So I'm not even sure why you reached out to him this week, because when he
finished second.
I know, I'm just teasing.
Everybody's been yelling at us to get him on, when really we've asked him now.
We have. Everybody knows we've asked him, and as soon as he can make it on, he'll let us know.
You're going to be on right after Kale, all right, Eagle? That's officially now when you're going to be on next is right after Kale. So you missed it, Eagle. Anyway. So,
wow.
Eagle finished second in Colorado, and Dave won. So anyway, I did want people to know, though, in all seriousness, I did reach out to Dave. I did reach out to Eagle. Not that they're the only two people, but there were two of the, immediate or obvious choices for people to talk to this weekend. Now, in speaking and looking at some of Dave's stats earlier in the year, Dave and I had a few different conversations regarding his play at the Vibram and so on and so forth. I was looking back at Dave, with the exception of going into extra holes with Simon Lizotte at the Rochester NT last year, Dave really hasn't racked up too many big wins in the last few years. Obviously, he's one of the greatest that's ever played. He's won in more continents and countries, I think, than any other player. He's got amazing statistics for where he's finished throughout all the years. His Worlds, his National Tour wins, and all those things. I'm in no way discrediting him. I'm saying in the last couple of years, though, he hasn't been nearly as dominant, and we're seeing the competition get better. We're seeing people like Paul McBeth win everywhere he goes. But these two wins in wooded courses have really been two of Dave's bigger wins in the last 2 or 3 years. Wouldn't you say, Dana?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's still playing at a really high level. It's just he's not getting the wins. He's, like I had said a few episodes back, he finished what did he finish at Worlds? He inside the top 10 for X amount of years, which was a big deal for Dave, and was a big was making a big push there at the end of Worlds to get back inside the top 10. So I mean, he's still one of the best players in the world, but it's not translating over into victories. Kind of, similar to Steve Rico. Steve's out there and he's top finish after top finish, but not necessarily, not getting winner's circle.
And I'll throw another name into that mix that is friends with them both in Nate Doss. Nate Doss, again, solid player, obviously, 3-time world champion, and always is finishing strong, but just hasn't really locked down any of those big victories that we used to see from him when he dominated a little bit earlier in his career. So I don't want to say it's a testament to them getting a little more older. I think it's just a testament to just how stiff the competition is out there when you're talking about some of the greatest in the world that aren't necessarily winning weekend after weekend. So it's an exciting spot for disc golf to be right now.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's so many good players. Then there's Paul McBeth.
Yes.
Kind of in a
who's already posting at USDGC.
Yeah, he's obviously taking it very seriously, and we all know that if there's one title that he's really frustrated he doesn't have yet, and it's that one. So I know he's down there practicing. And then yes, someone asked earlier on the board, so real quick I'll address it. He is of course planning on going to the national tour, the event up at the International Disc Golf Center this weekend, the final NT of the year. But in the meantime, he thought he'd go, I'll say, get an early jump on playing some of the USDGC layout. Now, the ropes aren't up. The artificial out of bounds, specifically, I should say, and the ropes and some of the other things aren't up. But Paul's out there just throwing shots into, he knows where he needs to be. Yeah. And I think he wants to. One of the big advantages, and we see this from a number of our players, is when they get there a few weeks early and they get to play the course a few additional times, they may play it in different winds, different weather. They may play morning rounds with more dew on the ground. They play sometimes a hot afternoon round, or they get to experience it in all those different weather conditions, and some of them will attack the course differently based on what they experience throughout those weeks leading into it. I think that's a huge advantage.
Yeah, it's definitely nice to even though most of the competitors, I will say probably 75% of them have played the USDGC multiple times and had multiple practice rounds and just tons of experience. It's still nice to get down there and to throw the shots and reintroduce your putter to those baskets.
And you're getting down there what, 2 weeks early, Dana, to practice?
Or three?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna leave the wife and kid at home for a couple weeks, and yeah, no, definitely not.
Hashtag disc golf priorities, buddy.
Yeah, I'll probably historically I've driven to Asheville, North Carolina, and on Saturday before the event, and get there late Saturday, hang out with some friends, and then drive hungover to Winthrop on Sunday and struggle through a round, and then practice Monday and Tuesday as well. So I usually get a good 3 days or two and a half if you count the hangover on Winthrop. So, but I mean, I'm playing the course in my head already and thinking about what discs I'm going to throw here, and if the wind's up, what I'm going to throw there, and going through it all. So even though I'll get there the Sunday before the event, I'll have a pretty darn good idea of what's going to be coming out of my hand on each of those holes.
And one of the cool things that people should remember is when we see the USDGC taking place in October, that's a Wednesday through Saturday event, which is pretty unique to our sport. We have obviously a lot of tournaments that finish on Sundays, and usually they're Saturday, Sunday, sometimes Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But to have that event go Wednesday through Saturday is a unique format in itself, and I think that helps a little bit with getting some of the gallery and some of the larger crowds for people that can come take the Friday and Saturday action in person. And we've said it for a number of years.
Yeah.
If you're within 4 or 6 hours or so, or wherever, if you can find a way to get on site to watch it live in person, you definitely should be doing that.
Oh yeah, and usually the weather is great that time of year. So you're seeing really nice weather if we're hitting their averages, and it's just a really spectator friendly place. It's not a super, there's not all these super wooded holes that you're going to be fighting to look around trees and other people. It's a great place to watch disc golf, and I think it costs $10 to get in, or $25 for a 3 or 4 day pass.
Yeah,
and
or
get a
sometimes
disc
it's
and commemorative stuff. So it's definitely worth the drive. It should be on every disc golfer's bucket list.
I agree. And speaking of bucket list, did you take in any of the action or follow up on any of the tournament going on in Iceland this weekend?
Iceland.
No. I was just asking. Looked like some domination by John Simon Giseliason. Yeah, John Simon we'll go with, who won by 8. And I don't know. I just think of, we've talked in the past about different countries, different places to play. Would you rather go play in, Hawaii or Alaska, that kind of thing? And Iceland, anywhere. I mean, there's a lot of countries over there. I think it would be cool just to say you've experienced playing in another country. But I saw that there was another C tier also in the Czech Republic going on this weekend. Yeah. So Canada, Iceland, Czech Republic, Norway,
Japan,
Finland. I mean, there was, and I know we talked about a lot of different tournaments this weekend, and it seemed, of course, there's international and global events going on every single weekend, but it just seemed like this weekend in particular had an extra amount of diversity around the world. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Is there a country you haven't played in that you're dying to get to play? Is it Finland?
Yep. You took it right out of my Finland. I want to see what it's all about over there, and see some of these disc golf park UC Maresma design courses, and just to experience disc golf on that professional level that they have going on there. Maybe maybe I'll start a GoFundMe and
There you go. There
go,
you go.
go over there next year.
There you go. Never mind. All right, we'll get some more of that later. Any other results? I mean, we can start moving into other things that we saw, but any other results that you wanted to touch on or go over this weekend?
Yeah, while we're on Finland, I saw that Seppo Paju won yet again over there. He's had a really great year over there, and I believe he's playing this. I think he's coming to the States this week to play in the Hall of Fame Classic, and then another event and the USDGC. So it'll be interesting to see what Seppo can put together at the U.S. this year. He's got a great forehand, backhand, and obviously he's a solid putter. He's currently rated 1023, and he could be someone that we could see towards the top, as well as just looking ahead to the U.S. Pasi Koivu also has played well at Winthrop. I think last year if he would have just threed hole 17 each round, he would have won the event. But I mean, everybody's got their ifs and couldas and wouldas and shouldas. But very capable player is Pasi. So we might see two European players on the lead card, and I don't even think UC is not playing. He's retired, right?
Yep.
Okay. So I mean, I know that he could go, and we could easily see him on the lead card on day 2 or day 3. That's the kind of disc golfer he is. But that'd be crazy to see a European take down the U.S.
Yeah, it would. And speaking of the U.S., we're going to sidetrack for just a moment and confirm what you've talked about in the past, in that both Barry Schultz, Ken Climo, not qualified for USDGC, so we're going to see them. I don't know if there's any extra pressure on them this weekend, because as I overheard Climo saying a week or two ago, he said that anyone that is likely to beat him is also likely already qualified for the USDGC. But we're going to see him and Schultz both playing in the Open Division, and I know that both of them have it on their minds that they want to earn those USDGC bids. They have 7 or 8 USDGCs between the two of them, and 8 out of 15? 8 out of 16 that exist, and neither of them are currently registered or qualified, I should say.
So you're saying they're going to try to qualify at the Hall of Fame?
Yes, that's why they're. So if you do,
I'm looking at the Hall of Fame roster right now, and I'm not sure who is and who isn't qualified, but some of the names that may not be, obviously Barry and Kenny.
Yeah, and
Matt Oram, not sure. Matt Dollar, don't know for sure.
Dollar's qualified.
Dollar's qualified.
I'm pretty sure Oram is qualified.
Cole Glazer?
Emil, Cole Glazer, Josh
Cole
Glazer from the Ledgestone, probably, if not earlier.
Yep.
Devin, Zach Melton, Emil, they're all qualified.
Okay.
So who's the first person that's not qualified?
Josh Childs is not. Chris Dickerson, Paul
Childs and
Oman,
Dickerson.
They're not qualified.
Yeti's probably not qualified.
No.
Yep.
I don't
and
think
Yeti's
he
stepping
is.
up to play Open here.
I'm pretty sure they're not offering a Masters field at this particular event.
Nope, just Open Men and Open Women.
So,
as it should be.
Yeah. So so just an interesting side story for us to have a little fodder for next week. I'm going to go ahead and say, and I'm not going on a big limb here, I'm going to say they're both going to qualify this weekend. I think you're going to see them both in the top 10 of the event. And I think you're going to see them both qualify over the weekend here for the USDGC. But certainly an interesting side story.
I think so, too. I think they're both going to qualify probably pretty easily.
And so a question on the board was how many spots qualify, Dana? If I recall, it's still the same, that the top 5 people who are not previously qualified for the USDGC will earn their spot at this event.
That is correct. And let's say someone who qualified earlier in the year and forgot to register within their month time frame, they cannot qualify again. The only way that player, if they qualified and forgot to register, is they'll have to go through Monday qualifying, which
Okay.
is the Monday before the USDGC.
Yep.
So,
Very, yeah. Again, I don't think it's a story, but I don't really think it's going to be a story
No.
because I think we're going to see all, both of them.
yeah, well, I think we're at 50%. One of the two is going to get in.
Oh wow!
At this weekend. I think we're going to see one of them Monday qualify. I don't know which
Wow.
one. Maybe I'm just saying it to be different because you guys both, or at least Terry thinks that
I think
they're
they'll.
both.
I think they'll
like
probably
win.
both qualify. I think it's going to be close for Yeti, and he's going to try to qualify.
What about Eric McCabe? I saw him also right there on the cusp.
Yeti or EMAC, I believe Kansas City wide open. He finished 11th place. I'm gonna click on that.
Why
to
is
see what it
Wait?
looks
Let
like.
me back up for just one quick second. Why is Kansas City wide open a qualifier?
Well, each year it's national tours, majors, and then the USDGC chooses 1 to 4 A tiers.
Oh,
Usually
really?
3 or 4 A tiers.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. I guess I did not realize
Which,
that.
I believe this year was Kansas City. Let's see, Kansas City. We would have had Eagle was already qualified. Barsby, Macbeth. So Zachariah, Joe Revere, Alex Geisinger, Ben Kellett. Yeah, it doesn't look like EMAC qualified at the Kansas City wide open, but Southern Nationals is an event every year that is a USDGC qualifier. The Hambrick was an A tier this year. That was a qualifier, and I feel like there was one other.
Hartford. It says.
Hartford. Yep.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this is okay.
I don't
Certainly new to me.
I don't see McCabe on the list,
Okay.
on the USDGC list. I'm looking right now. McCabe did not qualify yet, so he is going to have to put up that effort and take. He's playing next weekend. Is that right? I didn't even see.
Yes,
Yes.
I saw him on
EMAC.
the list.
Okay.
Yeah, which made me think of it.
Okay. Yep. Oh yeah, there he is.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. I did not like I said, I did not realize that a number of those A tiers were also qualifiers. And I'm not sure if this is a typo or not, but it says open flight, and then it says a top 10 finish at the 2014 USDGC has earned the following players automatic eligibility for the 2014 open flight. And I think that really means.
Last year's top 10 finishers qualify this year automatically.
Yeah, I'm saying I think that should read 2015
Correct,
open
yes.
flight. Okay, which would have included McCrae, Patrick Brown, Dustin Keegan, Steve Rico, Nate Sexton, so on and so forth. So, wow, and I guess I was, my apologies to our friend Steve Held and a number of other people. I was under the impression, or I believed, that literally every single person had to qualify except for Will Schusterick. That's how I was last told that.
Nope. Dana's shaking his head, saying,
I think
"You're an idiot."
I think that was Ken Climo that I had that conversation with at the Masters Cup this year, and he said there are no exemptions except for.
I think you said that before on the podcast, and
Yeah.
you've just completely disproven
Yeah.
yourself.
No, I clearly
And I've
I
told
was
you
wrong.
that's not the case multiple times.
Yes.
Oh, multiple
Da-
times
Da-
you told me
I
that.
guess
Dana-
I must have said it into your bad ear.
What's that?
I don't know.
What was that?
Yeah.
That's what I thought. No, I'm just kidding. No, very well. Anyway, so very interesting. Those top 10.
So in 3 weeks we'll go over this again, Dana.
Good
and
idea.
we'll let Terry know.
Yeah. There's a reason. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, AJ Risley qualified at the Greater Hartford Open.
Wow. Well, that's cute. Good on you, AJ. That'll boy.
Just saying.
All right, so
Yeah.
we'll see what happens, but very exciting stuff to see who's. You say one of the two won't. Kevin McCoy's chiming in on the board. I'm sure he's got something that will be genuinely insightful for us. Kevin says he's had to qualify once before, and it worked out pretty well for him. I like getting a competitive round in on the course before it starts, and it gets you game ready. Yeah, that's awesome that he did qualify and got in on Monday. I think there's a lot of players that would much rather just show up Monday
Oh, yeah.
and spectate to the other people that are sweating it out.
Yeah,
Versus
and
having-
Kevin's going to try to get up and qualify again this year, and I think he's got a pretty good chance of doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's playing really good disc golf right now, but I mean, back when he probably Monday qualified was when they're 150 whatever size pro field. Now it's an incredibly small pro field. So a lot of those players that were qualifying before are not these days. So it makes that Monday qualifying, you're seeing a lot more world-class level disc golfers, where back then it was most likely players that forgot to register. And, we usually do see a great player Monday qualify and not get in, or Monday qualify and get in. Nico Locastro has gone both ways. I believe Greg Barsby has qualified on Monday. I think Schwebe's had to do it.
I think he has. I think he has.
But, yeah. I don't know about that whole. For me, anyways. It's a pretty stressful day. And if you do get in, I guess you do have that competitive round or 3 in there above everybody else, but you're going through that stressor of trying to get in. So good luck, McCoy.
It will definitely be exciting to take that all in. I know that there is still some discussion going on. The USDGC has kind of undergone I don't want to call it a reorg, but we're seeing Spin TV has gotten very involved with taking over the media side of things. I know last year was one of the first times we saw a really thorough media agreement that I was part of. I know Disc Golf Planet was. I know, all the other, we'll say YouTubers, as we're commonly referred to, had undergone a pretty extensive media arrangement, I guess is what you'd call it. And I think Spin is going to be helping oversee some of that. I'm not sure what we're going to see for coverage. I know that they have a lot of different options on the table. Obviously, some are speculating if it's going to be kind of European Open-like, where we saw, a nightly wrap-up show with the Insider Show.
Fairly certain we will.
Or if you're going to see things like the round-by-round coverage or highlight coverage and packages. There's a lot of different things that are on the table. I know we've had some conversations, and right now, as of this minute, we can't tell you really anything in terms of exact details. All we can do is wait and see, and I think we're going to be hopefully having some news to announce no matter where it's coming from or what's going on, so that we can relay some insights onto you. I know that earlier in the year I had said I was very interested, whether it was a video blog or Smashbox Perspective, and in speaking to one of the main tournament gentlemen, he said that they were going a different route, and that they weren't going to have the emerging Planet Beach Network doing things. I know they weren't going to go that route, so I don't know what we're going to see for sure, but there'll be I'm sure extensive coverage one way or another, so I'm looking forward to it. I know I'm going to physically be down there, and if that means me hanging out in the lake and taping a GoPro to my head, I'll be covering
scuba gear.
Yeah,
you wouldn't be the first Wisconsinite in the lake.
Hey-o,
hello, Chris Herron.
Yes, no, and I will not be in the lake because that is illegal, and people have gotten ticketed for going in the lake.
Yeah, don't go in the lake.
So don't go in the lake there. So I won't be doing that. Maybe I'll be hanging from a tree, like a bat, with my feet, and then and anyway, I don't know. But anyway,
are people still tuned in? For
No. Terry's just rambling now. At this point, we've driven away half our viewers.
I'm just making stuff up. So, anyways, looking forward to it is my point. I know that's a big question on the board: is what is the USDGC coverage going to be? And that's what we know as of right now. So that's what I'm sharing with everyone. So, should be fun.
Thanks for clearing that up.
You're welcome. I hope that was clear as mud.
It's clear as mud. It's clear as the USDGC water.
Yes. By 18 or by 7?
By 18. You can't see anything by
Correct.
18.
Yes.
By 7, it's nice.
7 it's a little better. 6. 6 and 7.
6 and 7. So anyway, Dana, what else you got for us?
Who, me? I don't. Yeah. There were a bunch. Like I said, there is some other tournaments. Nothing that I'm too interested in talking about. I could give Paul Oman a shout out. He got third in a B tier.
Come on,
in
no,
Indiana on Sunday.
No, take that back. We can't shout out to that.
Yeah.
No.
But your boy Nate Heinold won a C tier at Lemon Lake. That's pretty noteworthy.
Nate Heinel, Ledgestone TD, and apparently can go out and play a little bit of golf on any given weekend. So congratulations, Nate. A win's a win.
Yeah.
How
he
big
beat on
was the
DT
field?
Mike.
How big was the field?
Like 8.
Oh, never mind. We can't talk about that. I was gonna say it had to be at least 10.
No.
No.
Sorry.
Okay. All right. Well, nice job, Nate. I guess.
Yeah. So event-wise, that's all I've got for you. Unless there's something else you guys wanted to chit chat about on that front.
No. I think, like I said, without having a specific headliner guest, so to speak, I think it's great that we got a little bit more in depth with all the different tournaments going on this weekend. Do we have any other exciting things that we could talk about? Maybe you could stick around on our show and be kind of our additional insightful head here.
I asked our Smashies what they wanted to talk about tonight, and there was really the only thing that really came up was there was a slight fiasco in Michigan this past weekend. That there's apparently, and I of course I don't have all the story,
we don't need
which is the best way that we
broadcast
that
news.
we broadcast news.
Just one-sided.
But there was Whiskey Hills. Apparently there was I believe it's a players party or something like that. There was some confusion, to say the least. And some people thought that, I believe it was a players party, that people thought they were going to get in for free.
For the Michigan
States tournament.
Which had like 320 or 350 people at it?
Something.
520.
520.
Seriously?
No, weren't you listening earlier when I said they had over 500?
No, I tune you out usually. Sorry. Wow.
No, I listened to Dana. And anyway, so what was not apparently conveyed was that there was going to be a $10 fee to get into the park.
Okay.
And so and I'm looking at this post.
It's a course and a campground on private property.
Okay, course and campground.
It was advertised as being free entry. Normally it's $5 to play the course.
Mm-hmm.
But last second, the course owners or property owners threw on a $10 entrance fee, and
it says $10.
Whether or not that was miscommunication between the tournament directors and the property owners, or if it was the property owners changing things up. I think it's a little speculative for us that weren't there or haven't talked to.
Correct,
anybody.
And I'll just say this: that if you go out to Disc Golf Scene and look at the courses under Whiskey Creek Campground, under the comments, they make a 2 or 3 paragraph post saying that they had always planned to charge the $10 per person, that they're not doing this as any sort of hobby. This is a business for them, that a lot of people are down. There's a lot of people commenting on the course itself, downgrading the course because of this particular communication issue. So and I'm sure we'll have some comments on the board about this, that I don't know who has the full story or what the full story is. It's according to Whiskey Hills. It sounds like they had always planned to charge that $10, and that they had given, they said they had paid $11,500 to the MCDGO for the 26 powder coated baskets, yada yada yada. So, but they did want to say thank you to everyone that has supported the course over the past year, and they're very grateful for the people who are coming and showing up. So, so there's a big brouhaha at over that this past weekend, and without knowing every last detail and without being there, it's really hard for us to speculate. But as someone put on the board, #DiscGolfDrama.
Yeah, and as always, it's tough to say because it may have just been a lapse in communication, or Dana could have been talking and I could have been tuning him out, whatever. Anything could have been happening at some point. So what's too bad is, and this can be said of anything, but what's too bad is if people are going to go out now, possibly rip on the course, rip on the layout, rip on other things that maybe were related to this experience, and it may or may not reflect on the course in itself. And I'm I'm not defending it either because I don't know how good the course is or the situation.
Correct.
But I'll say this: if you're going to invite 500 people to your property and it's your private property, like I kind of saw in there, like there's going to be cleanup, there's going to be a mess, there's going to be a lot of things happening, and just think, I don't know if it rained there or not, but I think of permanent damage to even open fields. When you have
cars and grass
cars and rainy and So I'm not. I don't know any of the details, but
me neither. Here's a question for Dana from the board: who won the Big Hug contest from last week?
Oh, Luke won.
Luke wins everything.
I know. I was trying to find him on Facebook. So Luke, if you're out there listening, send me a message on Facebook so I can get this frisbee that's sitting over here for you.
And we can't rip on you, Luke. We appreciate your dedication and support, Luke. I'll give him a quick plug. Comes out of Janesville, Wisconsin, and is personally heading up a course development to put his second course in the Janesville area. So, congratulations to Luke.
Nice, Luke.
And Luke is out there.
Yeah, of course he is. So, thank you so much, Luke. We know that you're a diehard Smashy, and we appreciate all the support. And we're glad that you can win stuff. You just win all the time.
He's a winner. He listens to our podcast. That makes him a winner. Everybody out there that listens is a winner.
Something like that. Any other conversation taking place out there that went down this weekend? Johnny V?
No.
Nothing?
Not much.
Simon didn't release any trick shots.
No, Simon was in the hospital. That's kind of maybe something to talk about. He apparently had some sort of bad reaction to, I think it was an antibiotic or something along those lines, and he was laid up in the hospital. So they showed a picture of him looking pretty miserable, I'll say. And there was some discussion about insurance, about whether because he's from Europe, they have, they've got kind of a universal insurance over there, that whether or not he got insurance, because you can purchase it for traveling, whether or not he did that or not. There's a lot of questions and not a lot of answers about that, but we wish the best to Simon. Hopefully he's feeling much better now and out of the hospital. So I saw he posted something about an old trick shot he had found, and we're hoping that he's doing well.
What was the answer to the question? Some people are asking. Last week, Dana, you had posed a question to the board for all our Smashies out there, and what was the question and the correct answer?
The question was, who was the first recipient of the Big Hug? Because I got these little Big Hug stamp frisbees here, and the winner was Drew Gibson, and I believe that was in the second ever podcast. And Luke correctly guessed Drew, so I'm sending him one of these Prodigy Big Hug stamped discs.
Might be cheaper for you to drive it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right, Johnny.
I mean, you're pretty close. You could just a little more time, but
somebody wanted to know earlier. They had asked when we were talking about all of our USDGC conversation. They had asked if we had any USDGC predictions. Do you wanna go out on any limbs or non-limbs there, and make any predictions there, Dana?
Well, I think we're going to see. I think we're going to see a European on the lead card come Saturday, whether it's Seppo, Posse, or KJ. KJ is probably our most likely suspect that we will see on the lead card. That is, if KJ is coming. I have not looked at the registration. Can anyone confirm if KJ Naibo?
I believe I did see him on there.
Yeah. I mean, he usually usually there every year.
He is officially registered.
And you listed all those Europeans, but you did not put our most recent national tour winner in that grouping of Simon Lizotte.
No disrespect to Simon, but no, I didn't. Although, actually, you know what? I take that back. He's won a couple tournaments here as of late. So, I mean, his putt is, I guess he's feeling confident with his putt. He's obviously a great thrower. He can throw some incredible shots. So, yeah, I mean,
all right.
I'm going to go back. Now that you mention him, I'm going to go back and say we might see two Europeans.
All right,
Wow.
so here's two questions, and we'll kind of get into speculation. Take Macbeth and Shoestrick out of it. Who do you name one other person you think, and then name one overseas person you think will win? If you have to take those two out of it, let's say Paul and Will decide that they're not going to play, they're going to go with Dairy Queen instead, and
And lock arms and feed each other ice cream.
yeah, kind of like we've done before.
Yeah.
Anyway, who do you see winning this other than those two?
KJ Nybo,
Okay.
I think he's primed up. We've seen him on the lead card at a number of majors and large events. He's competed for majors in Europe over the past few years. The course, I feel, sets up pretty well for his game. And then on the U.S. side, wow. If Nico would be someone I would say, but not with where his head game has been lately and his putt. So I'm going to hold off on Nico. I mean, it's hard to not say Ricky, but last couple of videos I've saw of Ricky, he's been a little, I guess, Ledgestone. He seemed a little shaky on his backhand, and there are quite a few forehand shots, and you do need the backhand, but Rick's putt is just so deadly.
It's very
but
true.
in the past, he hasn't. This is I'm really speculating here and going through it all, but in the past, Ricky has not performed all that well at the U.S. I don't even think he cashed last year.
Really?
So
what
I'm gonna
about
go with-
any of our other previous champions? I'll name some, like
Yeah.
your
I
David
was
Felberg,
that was gonna be
your Steve
my-
Brinsters, your Nate Doss. All have won this event once.
I was going to say KJ Nybo or Nate Doss. Those are the two. Nate has a really good history there. He tends to play very well there.
Mm-hmm.
Those are going to be my two.
And yeah, I was going towards Nate Doss. I would have loved to say Greg Barsby. Greg was having a great year until this recent elbow injury. Maybe that'll refresh him. But if his sidearm is kicking, Greg is. I could see him being a dark horse. But with this most recent injury, I'm going to have to not say Greg, but definitely Nate Doss would be my pick, my long-winded pick.
Well, Kevin McCoy is picking from first to fifth. Macbeth, McCoy, McRae, McCabe, the McBride. He's going the full Mick.
Yeah. Mick
Yeah.
winners.
Yeah.
Leaving out Eagle McMahon.
Yeah.
I think
So,
that's. I think.
Wow.
I think McCoy is.
What a Mick slap to the face there.
Yeah.
Eagle. You're never getting on the show. No, I'm just kidding.
Whoa.
I'm just kidding. Yeah, okay.
It is Eagles' first year at the USDGC. It sounds like at Ledgestone he did struggle with mentally with some of the out of bounds stuff.
And hole 5.
So be interesting to see how he does 4 rounds over the Winthrop Gold Course with all the out of bounds and decision making. It is a bit of it's a grind. So we'll see if this is a year where he just gets his feet wet, or if it's like Macbeth when Macbeth first showed up at Winthrop and was on the lead card. Him and his long hair. You guys remember that?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I remember it from Am Worlds, the floppy haired kid. I was like, wow, look at that kid.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Actually, and I want to throw another name out there. Bradley Williams. I mean, I hate to say it because it's Bradley Williams, but I have a hard time not seeing him up towards the top. He's a really good disc golfer, and he's playing really good right now.
he won this past weekend
Hate to say that.
an event, so he has been playing pretty solid.
Yeah, he's coming off the suspension. He's played pretty strong. So it'd be interesting to see if Paul Ulibarri, he's usually one to at the bigger events. Feel like he always seems to step it up. So maybe this is Paul's year to be up there in the action.
And someone who's been just barely out of it for a couple years here and at your Worlds year after year is my favorite little spoon, Steve Rico. I think he certainly, we all know he has the skill sets.
Yeah.
And he's put together some solid rounds. He's had very good finishes there. He's definitely another guy that, you're not going to see him go out there. He's not going to just show up and 1 year finish in 35th place. He just doesn't do that. It's, 5th and 7th or 9th and, maybe a 10th scattered in there. But otherwise, somewhere in the top 10 year after year after year. And having 4 solid rounds, wouldn't be all too surprising coming out of him as well. I think there's some conversation about Johnny McRae too.
Johnny McRae could easily do it. It's his neck of the woods almost, and he's got experience there. But I was gonna say maybe what'll help out Stevie is the new enemy, their new overstable beast of a disc.
Yeah, that is possible as well. So. Look for Steve Rico to go out there and have a solid performance as well. And it's tough, and obviously that's why it's all nothing but speculation because there are so many people on any given weekend that can put it together. But
I wonder.
I think we really know. There's probably about 10, if we really wanted to think about it. I think there's 10 people that realistically could win this.
How many non-1,000 rated players do you think are playing?
So. I want to, before we get into that, I want to say one person that could win it he's not even qualified yet. Barry. Barry's.
Yeah.
And obviously Climo, but
Barry and Kenny.
I feel like Barry's been playing a little bit better than Ken. Even though Ken won Masters, he seems to play well at the bigger events too. The bigger they are, the better he plays. So 2 guys right there.
Yeah, and to clarify that, Kenny won Worlds in the Masters field, but this last Masters event, Barry won.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I understand what you're saying, and it's either one could walk away without.
I think with where he's at and kind of the groove he seems to be in right now, I give the nudge to Schultz.
Yep.
Watching him play just nearly flawless golf at the U.S. Masters. Was as they said, just like watching 2001 or 2003 golf. And for Barry, who lives very close to that area, who can also go out and practice whenever he wants, he's been there for every single year. I would not be shocked at all to see Barry Schultz sitting on that leader card during the final day.
Jim Brown says Barry almost won it 2 years ago.
Correct. Yeah. So
he's
interesting.
If he can get through 888.
Yeah,
he could do it.
And speaking of 888, I think it was it last year or 2 years ago that Nate Doss was also in the running. I know he was shooting really well, and I was filming it, and him and Val. Val was walking along, of course, as she does at this event, and Nate had thrown 2 or 3 tee shots out of bounds on 888. And he took it very well, although he was right there in contention for possibly winning this event. And as they were walking down the fairway, he just looks at Val and he's just like, well, this isn't my year. That one hole,
sure.
I think he carded a 9, 10, 11, 12, something like that, maybe a 13 even. I don't remember what it was. It was a high number. And he just looked at her and he's like, well, this isn't the year. And it was a really surreal moment for any of these players. I'd like to say I'm friends with so many of them, and to see that, to hear that really disheartening reality, as a guy that was playing so well for more than 3.5 rounds. They were at hole 13, and he just looks at her and said, well, this isn't the year. This isn't it.
Yeah, and it's funny because we keep just bringing up names. McCoy even said last year no one would have predicted, or 2 years ago, Brinster, no one would have predicted him.
Yeah, and Brinster's been in the thick of things, and obviously is a major contender wherever he goes. But
he was never. I mean, he was always a major contender, but never really had that big win. He finally kind of got that monkey off his back. And Patrick Brown made a great run at it last year as well.
Mm-hmm.
So every one of those players. There's very few people that will show up on day 2, and you look at the leader card and you go, God, I can't believe that person's there.
Sure.
So few of them out there, which is why I asked how many, and I can't find it on. I don't know if it's even out on PDGA.
It's not.
It's out on USDGC, but they don't have the.
It is the pre-registration list.
Is it on
now?
PDGA.com?
Yes.
Oh, it is. Okay,
They
because
must have just done that.
No, it's been up for since last week sometime.
okay, because
okay.
I found it on the USDGC site, and they did not have the have it on there, because I was curious as to how many players
Oh, there you go.
are not rated 1,000.
There's actually
The first
there's actually
person I
quite a
see,
few this year.
yeah, the first person I see not rated 1,000,
Dana
Dana Vinci at 999.
Pow pow. Some great company there with Dutch Napier at 996 and Zachariah Johnson.
15 out of the 63 are not rated 1,000. So I would say, no offense to Dana, but those are the only guys I would look at usually on the top card and go, wow. You know, I'm a little
are they doing
surprised.
here?
I'm a little surprised to see him on the top card. It would never surprise me to see Dana on the second or third card. It would shock me a little bit to see you on the top card, but I'm rooting for it. I'd love to see you on the top card day 4. That would be awesome, Dana.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
So
Why? Do you want to disrespect me some more?
no, you
You guys
have
couldn't get a guest. You begged me to stay on. It's 10:30. My baby's gonna be up in I don't know how long, wanting to eat and.
I did not
Wake me up.
disrespect you. I just said I would be a little shocked to see you on the lead card, especially with as little golf as you've been playing, a brand new baby, you know,
And a new home.
a
and
new yeah,
Excuses.
not the new house. That's old news. He's got a new baby. He's got a little thing there now.
not too many Illinois representatives at the USDGC. Is that
Two.
correct?
Nick Austin
that's-
and Dana.
Usually,
But-
one more. That's one more than there usually is.
That's 2 more than their Wisconsin.
That's
so
right.
we have none. But
What would you, if you had to take a guess, what state is the most represented one for the USDGC?
North Carolina.
nope, it's easy when you think about it. Going back to Cali.
California. Duh.
Yeah.
It's all right.
So
Yeah.
It was a fun little
Cali.
game.
But it seems like with some of these lower, like the A tiers, let in some lower rated players this year. Hartford and Southern Nationals. I think that's where we're seeing a lot of the non-1,000 rated players. Where if you see a non-1,000 rated player get in a national tour or a major, that's kind of that's a bit of a shocker. We may see it this weekend at the Hall of Fame Classic, but odds are there's still quite a few 1,000 rated players that are looking to get in. So.
All right. So what's coming up this weekend? I guess you just alluded to it,
The
but
Hall of
coming
Fame?
up this weekend is the Hall of Fame Classic. There was a conversation at one point about how some players were disappointed that they're not playing all 3 courses. There's 3 courses at the IDGC, and there's some people playing in the A tier that's taking place, I believe. Yes, the A tier that's taking place, and they'll be playing 2 of the 3 courses, while the pros are playing a different 2 of the 3 courses. Any insights on that, Dana, or feelings on that?
So I'm sorry, I'm a little flustered from Johnny. So much. What?
even
No, just there was some conversation.
About 3 courses.
Yeah.
No. I don't. Yeah, I don't think that's a big deal. I say play the 2 courses is fine. Especially
Sure.
It's only a 3-round tournament, which that's a little different. Different playing 2 courses, but change things up a little bit. The Steady Ed course is a little bit easier than the Jackson course, which the Open is playing. I haven't played the 3rd course that we're kind of talking about here, but with the event running coinciding with the A tier amateur side, it makes sense that they're not using all 3 courses, and I don't think that's a big deal at all.
Okay. And then we see the Lake Superior Open going on in northern Wisconsin this weekend. That's one of the other very few A tiers even taking place. We're going to see some of our northern boys from Minnesota and Wisconsin
really just
participating in that.
The big name there is Alex Geisinger. He's the number one guy. He's got the rating hands down. He's a 40-point favorite over the next highest rated player there. But it wouldn't surprise me to see Adam Hames play very well there. So or Critter.
Geisinger is coming off a foot injury, so it'll be interesting. I don't know how much he's been playing or how healthy he is, but that could be. We might see, if Geisinger is not playing, we might see another new A-tier winner. So.
Oh yeah.
Anything else on the social media side?
Have you seen anything that's piqued your interest this week, or anything that's shocked or surprised you?
I referenced it earlier, jokingly about doing a GoFundMe for.
We talked. So I could go to. Yeah, we talked a little bit.
My mortgage.
A mortgage GoFundMe or a computer GoFundMe. Now we talked a little bit about this in the after show, but you are seeing a lot of the pros. Not a lot, I'll say this. A few pros out there with GoFundMe accounts saying, "Hey, GoFundMe to go to USDGC."
Or wherever.
Most of right now it's USDGC. Usually earlier in the season you'll see it an on tour. And here is what I've said, and Terry and I have talked about this a little bit. I'm not the biggest fan. I think it kind of looks a little cheap. What I would like to see is, if you support the GoFundMe, that you get something out of it. Send me a signed mini. Let me send you a disc that have you sign it. Send me a sticker or a decal for my car that says, I sponsored so and so for the event. Just a donation. I know it's a platitude to get sent something, but to just flat out give someone money just so they can go out on tour, it's to me it seems a little. Seedy's not the right word. It's just a little unseemly. It's a little bit. It comes off as begging. At least give me something in return for your GoFundMe, in order to make that happen. That's kind of how I feel. I don't know. How do you feel about it, Dana?
I've got mixed feelings about it. I see both sides. There are people that would like to, help. Say if I made one, there'd be people like from my hometown, or people that aren't on Facebook, that aren't disc golfers, that aren't buying discs from me or doing, supporting me in some other way, that might want to donate, and that would give them an opportunity. But me personally, I would not do that. I'm not really looking for any handouts from people. It would be, it'd be great to throw up a GoFundMe and get $1,000 to pay for my expenses for US or something. I think actually Alex Geisinger was one of the pros who did a GoFundMe. Eagle McMahon did one. I heard that the payouts were really great at Colorado State's last weekend, so maybe he'll cancel his GoFundMe. But I don't know. It's tough. I'm a person that would rather go out there and hustle and sell some discs, or run a tournament and maybe do a 50-50 or whatever.
Sure.
Work for the money, or obviously I substitute teach and try to live frugally. Where some of these players are, it's a little questionable asking for money when they might be spending their money on something else.
And does it look bad for their sponsors? I mean, is that kind of a maybe a little backhand at whoever their sponsor happens to be, that to say, hey, I'm out here begging for money, but yet I'm a sponsored player by XYZ company, that I can't make it out there. Does that reflect poorly on sponsors, you think, or is that not even seen?
No.
You don't think so?
I mean, I shouldn't say that. It might. Some people, I've seen it posted where people, the sponsor should be doing that. What are you, blah blah blah. So as wrong as I think that might be, yeah, some people do feel that way.
Sure.
They say the sponsor should be taking care of that.
Yeah.
Well, I think I've got a couple different feelings on it, but first and foremost, I'll say I think it really brings to light whether it's been Brody, Eagle, Alex, or others. I know Nico and Jessica had one many years ago, and that's the kind of the unique thing with GoFundMe. I think it can just be an ongoing thing as long as you want it to be. There's not like a Kickstarter where there's a start and finish with a specific goal. And one thing I'll say about it is it's brought to light what sponsors really don't currently do for our players, because that's exactly the response that a lot of people say is that's what your sponsors are for. And then some people are replying back, either aggressively or otherwise, just saying our sponsors don't cover that. Our sponsors don't pay for our meals. Our sponsors don't pay for our gas. Some sponsors don't pay for entry fees. Whatever. Everyone has a slightly different situation depending on the A, how good of a player you are.
Yep.
And B, what team you're on, with what name brand. Because all of them have different situations and scenarios. And I think it's really shed light on the fact that very few of our biggest sponsors do a ton of things for the majority of the players. I mean, almost every true sponsorship in our sport means you get X amount of discs and probably some apparel.
Sure.
That's what most sponsorship in disc golf is. Most.
You got to win something. You get bonuses.
Oh, yes.
You're getting bonuses from everybody where it's not upfront travel costs or some of those other things.
Yeah, and I would like to see, and I've said this before, that I would love to see our sponsors step up more to support players. It's nice that the sponsors go out and support events. That's great and all, but I would prefer to see less event sponsorship and more player sponsorship in the long run, because I know it's a 50-50 toss-up. The event sponsorship help more players, but to see a sponsor really step up and take care of a player, I think it could say a lot about a sponsor.
Yeah, but if they're going to then tournaments and aren't winning any money, then really what's the good?
No, I totally understand that. But the other thing I would like to see is maybe have the players a little more vocal when their sponsor does support them. Like, we'll just say, when Dynamic Discs does send EMAC, let EMAC let everybody know, or whomever it may be, hey, my sponsor covered this for me to get me here. Or I would like to see the sponsors maybe at least cover, and I'm sure it's all part of the contract, the NTs and majors.
In terms of entry fees?
In terms of entry fees. Like, hey, they should cover that. I personally think.
So where do you draw the line as to, we'll use Dana. Dana's
Sure.
a good example.
And I know there's different levels.
Yeah, that's just it. Dana's crested 1,000. He's, been 1,009, 1,010, whatever. And I think we'll say you are. And now 1,015.
10-15.
Yeah, sure.
He's the man.
And now he's dipped to I'm just kidding. But he's dipped down to $9.99.
Sure.
Should Prodigy, we'll just say that's his current sponsor, should Prodigy be paying $9.99 rated players to go play in all national tour events?
I mean, it all comes down to the contract they signed at the beginning.
Of course. But it's just
and you abide by that contract, and that's between players and sponsors as to what they sign and what they do and don't, what the agreements are. But I would like to see it. I would like to see most sponsors cover. Then if your sponsor can't cover you for that type of stuff, maybe you need to look at a new sponsor.
the next sponsor isn't going to do it either.
I know, and that's just it. And it's unfortunate. It's a game of diminishing returns isn't the right term, but I would really like to see.
Some conversation off the board. Before I go further, I'm going to say one more thing about the GoFundMe. what it's brought to light for me, because I've asked about if I should have a GoFundMe account, the number one thing that it's brought to light for me personally is I feel like any avenue that somebody wants to support you, if this is another avenue, I'm okay with it. So I have a Patreon account. I have currently 59 people. I've got 12,000 subscribers on YouTube, and I have 59 people that support me via Patreon. Dana, you're one of them. I appreciate it. You're amazing.
I don't think I still am.
Son of a... Anyway, 59...
58.
So, yeah, 58 people who support me via Patreon, and I appreciate it. I've got a donate button, which is kind of hidden on a site somewhere. I think there's any given situation, if somebody wants to do it, the reason I personally don't mind the GoFundMe is because it's pretty well known and widely accepted. So when I mention GoFundMe, a lot of the general population knows exactly what I'm talking about. When I talk about Patreon, people like their heads spin because they're just not used to that. But when you say Kickstarter or GoFundMe, people almost immediately know what they're talking about. So I feel like if you're doing something, whether it's you're providing lessons or you're providing videos, you're doing whatever, and people want to support you, I'm going to put out 6 different ways you can do it. And if any one of those suit your fancy, great. If none of them do, great. I'm going to still continue to do what I'm doing. So I'm okay with the GoFundMes. I don't have a problem with it. It's just I think what was kind of interesting is we saw 2 or 3 of them pop up in a very short period of time, and that just kind of sparked this enormous conversation in our sport. So it's kind of interesting for those reasons. I'm going to address a few of the sponsorship comments on the board, and this is just from what I believe I know. I think I know everything. No, but what I believe I know is, yes, Paul McBeth is doing quite well for himself. He's a top-rated player in the world, current, 4-time consecutive world champion. We don't need all his accolades. Paul McBeth is doing well for himself. I think he's doing very well in disc golf, and by even, we'll say non-disc golf, non-hashtag disc golf rich standards, Paul McBeth, I think he is doing anywhere from double to triple to quadruple what maybe even the next best person is doing. And if that speaks to him and or to Innova, then so be it. But Paul McBeth is doing very well. Why are sponsorships so secretive? And I think somebody kind of used a great analogy on the board. The same reason they don't encourage anyway, a lot of people to sit around the water cooler and talk about salaries and their benefits. I think it creates a little bit of animosity. I think it can create a little bit of jealousy. It could maybe prove or disprove favoritism. It's just one of those things. So I think that's why you're not seeing a lot of people openly discuss exactly what's in their sponsorship agreements. And it's like an income. We're not really privy to it. I mean, I can't go out and see what, Michael Jordan was getting for all of his endorsements. It may or may not be news, but I'm not owed that information. So just because we're in disc golf, just because we're a tight-knit group and a relatively family-like structure, that doesn't necessarily mean that, I should know exactly what Ricky Wysocki's pulling in for, his sponsorships and his bonuses. Sure. I may know, but I have no right to know. And if that's shared with me, great. But if it's not, that's just the way it is. So,
for those of you having issues, just go ahead and refresh.
What about the disc golf guy? Are you making more or less than $100,000 a year?
I am making far less than $100,000 a year.
I'm sorry. Do I need to give you a raise?
Yeah, that would be great. Far less than that, and yeah, I won't go off any other rants or tangents about that tonight. But yes, far less. So
I didn't mean to depress you.
No, that's all right. I'll keep doing what I do and hope that someday financially it will benefit me. Is there some issue going on?
There was. I think I'm going to blame my wife, which is why I got up for a second. Once she walked in the door, her phone connected automatically to our Wi-Fi, and I think something was running in the background, which suddenly killed our connection. She was either uploading her bandwidth or downloading something. She didn't even realize she was doing it. I ran upstairs, turned off the Wi-Fi on her phone, and we're back. So
wow,
that's all. Yeah, very strange, but fixed.
What's so important on her phone that it's uploading and downloading?
I don't know. She didn't even know it was doing it. She walked. She's like, she was putting dishes away, and her phone was just sitting there. So I just killed the Wi-Fi on it, and we're back. So,
all right.
Yep. But
way to blame her.
That's what I can do. I love her dearly.
Yeah. So yeah, sponsorship, that could be what would be interesting, I think, is to get a few people that are willing to talk about it, a few people that pull those strings, a few people that set those agreements up, and we've kind of alluded to, or at least I've had the idea of pulling in sponsor or team managers of sorts, pulling them into our show, and maybe it's one brand per week. I know that I've already spoken to a couple of individuals, including our Team Trilogy and DD rep. I think we're going to have him on here in the next week or two. And he's going to talk a little bit about what it means to be sponsored. He may not give over the air every single detail about, the levels and what every single person gets. But I know he's going to at least give us a few of the basics as to what it means to be sponsored, or on the team and so on and so forth.
Kevin McCoy's out there giving some information saying that most of the tour series that you see, most of the guys out there are getting a quarter for every tour series disc that you purchase. And he's saying that Paul's is higher because of his status as a multiple winner, multiple NT, and well-deserved status of being the number one player in the world. So he's probably getting a slightly better, or not slightly, I don't know, deal than what a lot of the other guys are getting. But for those that didn't know, it's been kind of common knowledge that for those tour series discs, they do get about a quarter per disc. So.
Yeah, and I think there's various tour series, and then there's your custom stamps. Frequently, and we'll say Innova, for instance, for many years has done. When you win a world championships, at least in the open division, you've been kind of awarded a disc of your choice. And Paul has a number of them. Obviously, Ken Climo has a whole line of them. And Barry Schultz with his Beast and his Leopards. Throughout the years, he's been getting a slight kickback from all of those. And so, again, every company, every situation's a little bit different, and what was the standard 10 years ago has certainly changed and even upped the game to what it is today. I'm still waiting on my Dynamite, Vichy, Prodigy, something. What disc would it be, Dana? Let's just get crazy here for a minute, and if they were going to give you a little kickback from every one of these sold with your name on it, what disc would you be choosing?
I think that the most popular mold is probably the PA3.
So you're just going popular mold or the one that you throw?
Well, both. Definitely most. I mean, I'm not gonna pick the Beast, man.
Well, I mean, no. I mean, a mold that is the most popular mold happen to be one that you throw, I guess is my question.
Yeah. I throw the PA3. I putt it, and or I'd go M4. The M4 is my favorite.
That's what I was That's what I was mouthing. M4 is it's my favorite Prodigy disc. So.
Yeah. So.
Is it the only one you've tried to throw?
But yeah, I would definitely think about.
I've thrown another Prodigy disc, but it's the only one that's made my bag.
Okay. Well, Dana could maybe change that for
you. He could, if only with some personal lessons. Because I don't think most companies want it known that I'm throwing their plastic after they see me. Like, oh. No, we'll pay you to throw someone else's discs if you're gonna throw them like that.
So yeah, sponsorship and that conversation will rage on, but I think we'll get some representatives, some team managers, and they'll share with they'll share with us whatever they feel comfortable or want out there for the general public. It's actually been an idea for a segment I've had for quite some time now, and I think this helps bring it more to light.
Sure.
For us to do, and I think
Paul officially got the Nova as his 4-time disc, is what everyone is saying. That's what McCoy and Sean Land and Jim Brown. So I know there's a lot of talk about what disc he was going to get, and apparently it's official. He got the Nova, which I hadn't heard until tonight. I know they had some understamped stuff, but apparently his.
I think we're going to see some other exciting announcements that I've been made privy to as well.
Ooh.
But
I don't even know.
I'm going to keep those in my back pocket for another night.
Okay.
So
he should get his own basket.
Okay.
Like the Macbeth basket, and have his face on the band. The McBasket, and have his face around the band.
So people would feel better about hitting the band.
That's right. Like, I got you, Macbeth. Every time they hit it. So
possibly. I don't know. Anyway. Anything else you got for us, Dana, on the social media, the rumors, the rumor mills? Any rumors you want to start? That kind of thing.
Oh, don't be getting me in trouble. I'm trying to trying to stay on the straight and narrow here on everybody's good side.
All right.
Well, that's
So
boring.
that might be a good time for me to
Sure.
cut out and you guys to.
Yeah, we're gonna wrap things up shortly after this too.
Yeah, we're going to talk about one or two
right.
things,
You're
but
gonna be on until like 1.
probably.
No, we're really not.
That's what he says, but then yeah. Well, Dana, we appreciate you coming on tonight and staying extra long for us. Hopefully next week we'll get you in bed nice. We'll tuck you in nice and early. We won't keep you too long like we did tonight.
Yeah, I mean tonight there was finally a guest worth staying up for. So.
There is.
Heyo.
There is.
Sean Land says that Dana wins the USDGC and gets the signature PA3. All right.
I hope so. I want him. I
All
want.
right,
I want him.
Smashies, have a good one. See you next time.
All right. Bye,
Good night,
Dana.
That should send him off to Dream World. So, thank you again, Dana. And also to follow up, of course, we miss our favorite Zotron. She said tonight she was busy yet again doing some other stuff. As she's just one of the busiest
she's
girls.
swamped. She has so much stuff she's got going on. It's kind of funny because people are asking like, is Zoe going to be on? And every week we're like, we hope so, but usually we find out like the day before or the day of she comes up with some phenomenal thing she's doing, like, oh, I can't, I'm healing sick children today with plastic, and
I'm delivering water to the entire state of California.
Correct, she's single-handedly defeating famine and drought. So anyway, we'll get Zoe on again sometime in the future. I promise. It's not us, it's her.
Yes, we miss you, Zotron, but we know she's out there, and again, she's doing great work. And she says when she gets
hello.
back, we'll welcome her back.
We'll welcome her back. So you and I played this weekend. Mm-hmm. We both were using our FASA bags.
Yes, we
So
were.
that is a good thing. People have been asking us about our FASA review, and we both, I didn't have to. I've already tried out the FASA bag, and yet I chose to wear the FASA bag this weekend because I really like it. I'm pretty happy with it. I have a cart as well, a ridge roller that I've used it on this course before. I've used Sandpoint. I don't love it. There's a 7-hole stretch where it just kind of gets unwieldy, and you have to carry it in spots, and it's easy to carry and it's not too heavy. But I thought with the gorgeous weather that we were going to have, that I thought I'd just throw a backpack on. We weren't really too worried about rain. And I'll say I still have the same complaint that I had with it the first time. It did tip over quite a few times on me.
Okay, this weekend it did?
This weekend.
Okay.
I had it full of plastic. I had a water bottle in there. The one thing that did stop it was Sunday I did put an umbrella in because we had a threat of rain towards the middle of the end of our round, and that did keep it from tipping over forward. Other than that, and I'll say this as well, I do not have the disc support in there, so I don't know if that would change anything. Okay. I got it, and I couldn't figure out how to put it in. Honestly, it's in my car, but
do I have it in mine?
I don't know. I didn't really look inside of yours, but you have a blue one. I have a red one. I do really like the FASA bags, though. They are a good value at what you get. And you had said that yours, you didn't really have a problem with yours tipping over, and maybe it's just the way that it's carried. I did have the top stuffed with a big towel and my 3 putters, so maybe I was making it a little too top heavy, and the bottom was more or less filled with plastic, even though with this particular course I think I threw 4 discs. I was just prepared to throw more. So I really, if you want a good backpack at a good price, I can't argue with a FASA at all. So I'm very happy with it.
No, I concur with most of that. I only had issues with it tipping over when I didn't have it full. So if I had it only half full, and I know it fits like 20, you could cram upwards of 22, 25 discs in there if you really need it. I'm not Dave Fehlberg, so I don't need that many discs.
I'll say I had a lot. I bet you I have more than I normally carry, just because I threw some extra plastic in my ridge roller. I can carry about 14 discs, I believe, straight up and down. I can stuff some more in there and whatever. But this one, I can carry up to like 25, and I almost filled it to the point where sometimes I was having a problem pulling one out, because I threw some extra plastic that I'm never going to throw, that's not even marked. It's stuff I've got in players' packages, but I wanted to fill it particularly.
Yeah,
and it worked out well.
I have only had issues with it, like I said, when it wasn't full. I put my DSLR camera, usually in the top. I had some towels and some other things in there. I had more than enough space, more than enough storage in there. I love the fact that it's got the water bottle holder on the side, which could fit anything that you need. And as you said, the price point for a comfortable backpack bag that comes in at like $100 or less, I don't think you can beat it when it comes to a backpack style bag. Again, I ran into them at Pro Worlds, and they were talking about another version, a slightly beefier model, so on and so forth, that you're going to see a slightly higher price point that will have a few adjustments to it. But overall, the bag, I think, works out really well. So
not to ruin their upcoming product, but you don't need it.
Well, depends on what you're looking for.
I know.
I think the new one has a rain fly.
It has a rain fly, which what this one doesn't. I'll say that. You can do whatever, but I was really happy with it. And as far as being comfortable, I didn't have any issue with it being on my back for 2 rounds of 27. I never once was tired. My back was never once sore. Everything just really kind of worked out really well, and I really, 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 really liked it.
Wow. Maybe you should maybe they should sponsor you, and then they should pay all your entry fees.
They probably should. They could, because the 3 events I play a year now, I wouldn't be breaking the bank.
And Cody, we are talking about
the Fossa bag.
The Fossa bag. I believe it was their first bag that they came out with, and I know they're working on other bags. I want to say Springfield, Missouri.
Maybe we can get a smash bag.
A smash bag, a Fossa smash bag. That wouldn't be a bad idea. So, yeah. So very good. Highly recommend it. Let's also follow that up and say, when he sent them to us, he said, "Be brutally honest. Don't flower it up. Tell us what you like, what you dislike." And I think what goes along with the whole tipping possibility is A, the amount of disc in there, and B, maybe just a little bit of the structure. And if it could be a little bit more rigid, that may or may not lead to the tipping. But everything else on it so far has been
plenty of pockets. I had my phone in there. I had my keys in there. I had a really like a full size beach towel I rolled up because I didn't have any. Because it's the first tournament I've used this bag for in a while. I used it to practice, and I used it for one other event when I was messing around, but I didn't have my normal, hand towels that I used to draft discs. So instead I took my my shower towel straight from my wife's closet up at Northwoods, and I stuffed it in the bag, wondering if I would need it. It fit everything. People were actually walking up and asking, like, what kind of bag is that? It looks like it's got a ton of zippers and pockets, and I could have fit so much more stuff in it. So they were very nice, and I'll say that. So
yeah, thank you.
So thank you, Fossa, for the bag. We really appreciate it.
Maybe we'll work with Fossa in the future. A great relationship that we would certainly entertain doing would be, possibly some kind of special Smashbox code if somebody were to, come after you guys after they, as a Smashbox viewer or listener, podcast or video blog or
was our bag called the Tana?
Yes,
ours is the Tana Fossa bag. So Eric Berlin has it right on the board that it is called the Tana. So you can get, if you want to get that, just, you know what, and if you get it, even right now, just mention us. We don't get anything for it.
No.
They sent us the bag, and that's pretty much what we got, and they told us to review it honestly, and we have. So I'll be curious to see what they come out with in the future, but I would not hesitate to have anything like that. It could maybe use some zipper pulls.
Those are always almost all aftermarket anyway.
Stuff. So
yeah.
Okay.
Those are almost all aftermarket. Their zippers aren't quite as big and quite as industrial as I've seen in a few other bags.
Sure.
Now that you mention zippers, actually, they're not quite as industrial, but
I didn't have any problem with it.
Yeah, and I haven't had any problems either. I'm just saying I was thinking of one other little thing, but at that point, you really have to start looking for things in terms of.
If I'm sure they're bigger model. I would say sometimes I like to carry 2 bottles of water. This only has 1 water bottle side on one water pouch on the side, but it fits a huge water bottle. So if you have a really big one, you're fine. Some people like to carry 2 just on those really hot days.
Sure.
But I can't really complain. That's not a complaint. That's just a thought that they may be expanding into with their larger bag.
So yeah, there is the Fossa bag. And again, there's one final thing to say about it. I believe it retails for $99. And to find a backpack style,
ridiculously cheap.
Yeah, a backpack style bag that is as nice as it is for $99 is almost unheard of out there.
Yeah.
And of course, I haven't touched every single bag out there because there's a new bag company coming out every other week.
Yep.
But from the ones that I have seen and the ones that I've priced out, it does a very good job at that $99 price point.
Yeah, and if anyone wants to get their products reviewed, just contact us. We can work something out, whether it's, whether you give us the product or just send it to us with a box to send it back. We're always happy to try things out and give you kind of an honest opinion. I'll say this, I don't want to try out discs. They're too subjective for every person. Me throwing a leopard is going to be different than Terry throwing a leopard or whatever the new disc comes out. So I have no interest in testing out discs. There's plenty of people out there that will do a way better job than I do. But products, I'm always happy to kind of take a look and test it out.
Other products that are out there. If you happen to slip like $100 bill in there with it, no, I'm just kidding. I can't totally be bought. I can be bribed through one of my support pages, possibly to come cover your tournament or to come cover you, or a magic group gets assembled because you were the tournament director. Maybe slipped a few dollars in the support, but no.
I know Innova. I know we don't talk a lot about a disc. Innova had a new disc come out called the Mystère or the Mystere, whatever it's called.
Oh, really?
It's like an Archon. Apparently, it's like fits right in that area. Maybe a little less stable.
And now you were talking. I know you just mentioned Innova specifically, but you're also talking recently about how you're really a fan of what DD and those guys are doing over there with the "Is this disc right for you?" segment.
Yes, I didn't even. I think we talked about this off the air. Bobby Brown and Dixon Jellers seem to have gone out, and they probably did a bunch of them in one day, but they are going out and saying and doing these little video series called "Is this disc right for you?" And they're one by one going through their pieces of plastic, telling you what each one does and whether it's right for you as a beginner player or as a pro. And I think more companies need to do this because it would help out. I mean, you've said before when you're selling discs, so many players walk up and want the fastest disc possible, and it's not the right disc. So that could be something that you could use to point to them, say, hey, the company itself says that this might be a better disc for you, and they're going out and they're showing, Bobby Throw, who's more of a beginner level player, even though he's been in the sport for quite a long time, and they have Dixon Throw, who is a more advanced player, or not advanced, but open player caliber. And they show you the difference in each player throwing the disc, which I think is can help out phenomenally. So if you're out there and you're not doing that as a company, I think you're missing out on letting your customers know exactly what that disc is good for. So I'd give props to Dynamic Disc for that. I think it's a great idea.
Now, I think they were doing more of that originally, or that was a specific segment originally geared in their DDTV. Webisodes, I guess would be the way to word that. I'm gonna call you out, Cool Daddy Slick Breeze. Where's my DDTV? I haven't seen any in a while, and I know you guys are insanely busy. I saw
Bobby's on the East Coast. He was at Maple Hill. He sent us a picture of our quiet sign.
Yeah, he was. I know he's out doing some stuff, working with Jonathan Ray, I believe, out there doing some promotional stuff with DD and all the stuff they're doing. So I know you're busy, but come on, I subscribed. I need more DDTV episodes.
Yeah.
I think there was 3.
I'm sure.
I want to say there's 3.
My guess is that
maybe it'll be more of an off-season thing.
Yeah, my guess is that Bobby's building up a good
library
of content and video that he's gonna spring on us come the slow season. So
I would like to. I'd like to see more of those. I'm going to do a quick sidetrack, again, because I guess we're kind of name brand
agnostic.
Yeah. I did sit down and watch for the first time, finally, and I don't watch a lot of disc golf on the YouTubes. I sat down and I watched the live broadcast of the European Open this weekend.
You finally got around to doing that.
I did. Okay. A few weeks ago, I watched the Paul McBeth documentary, which was, I think, put out a month ago. I just watched it the other day. But the other morning, I sat and watched the live broadcast of the European Open. And I got to say, it was pretty darn good.
Yeah. It was. I mean, there obviously everyone was complaining about the length of the number of holes.
Yeah, that they wanted more.
Yes, they wanted more, but the production quality was top notch, hands down.
Yeah, it was very good. A few things I'd like to immediately note regarding that. I don't think we've talked about this really specifically. I know I haven't because I didn't watch it, or maybe you did. But Jamie Thomas and Avery Jenkins were in a booth, which we've talked about all the reasons why I'm not usually in a booth. But they were in a booth, so they had some advantages to that, and then clearly some disadvantages to that. They had a ton of cameras. That's the one thing that kept jumping out at me. They had a camera mounted above the basket, you know, of course, the 18th basket. But then they did something in terms of having one camera pretty much right on the person's face the whole time as they threw, and another camera getting the disc coming in, and another camera from another tee shot. And then, this super slow-mo camera. Did we ever price that out? Did we talk about that on the air?
We did talk about it on the air. We were talking in the hundreds of thousands.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
So that's something we won't be doing anytime soon. But just a phenomenal production value. They did a great job with it. And, of course, there was things I'm watching and we can learn, and things I'm like thinking, well, no, unless there's a huge windfall of money, this isn't going to happen, namely that camera. Yep. So those are some of the things. I thought it was really well done. It was great to see it, and I think it was just really exciting to know that's what they put out for the world to see.
You're on the ball, man.
I know. I'm a few months behind, but I finally got to watch it.
You're busy.
And spoiler alert, Paul McBeth won it.
God, why are you gonna ruin things?
I know. It was. All right, Seti's calling me out on the board, saying, "Wait a damn second."
Did you take Holly Finley's suggestion on your hair?
Oh
no, it looks
really.
It looks the same wet style FOMO hawk thing.
Yeah, I'm in a I don't want to say transition. No, I'm not. I just need a haircut. I was gonna say I'm in like limbo, but I'm not. I just need a haircut.
Okay.
But somebody's
that's what they were talking.
Oh, okay, that's what she was talking about. In social media news today, she's an international model, and she tells you to wear a tutu and tube socks. You will do it, son. I'm afraid I won't, and here's what I'll say about that.
She was wearing ripped jeans this weekend. She was at our event, and I saw her at the awards wearing ripped jeans. So I'm gonna go.
I've got a bunch of tangents here, but one of them's gonna be just that. Just because Holly, she politely told me, hey, my hairstyles, that's fine, because guess what? It's going to come back. And whether it's in or not, I don't care. But it all comes back. Everything at some point comes back.
So you're saying, in a great point, and we're going to go off. We're going to go off. This is almost after show stuff. We're going to go off. You and I have jokingly talked about someone's hairstyle on the tour that looks like it came straight out of 1992.
Okay. Yep.
That when we were kids, the cool thing was to shave the side of your head, pull your ponytail back, and it's very similar to what we're seeing now. A lot of the side of your head shaved, longer up on top. So it's just 20. You just got to wait 20 years, and your hairstyle will come back.
My hypercolor shirts and my bib overalls and my aqua socks, cross colors, all those. We all know that. Trends and fads
I don't
just
think
that.
Hypercolor will ever come back. I'm just saying.
I think they were bought out. I remember reading up on them actually years later, obviously, and then went down the tubes. But so I respect Holly Finley in a lot of ways, but just because she gives me a little bit of advice doesn't mean I'm going to take it, even when it comes to the fashion world or industry. I see what some of those fashion models put on, and I don't need to agree with what they're doing. However, this is going to segue nicely into another tangent, which would be Holly Finley made a post this morning about her shooting a gun while we were up north. She was shooting a gun, shooting a tree or something, and there was a post, and then some people thought it was super cool, and some people really jumped on her about whatever her tactics or strategy for her gun shooting, handgun shooting. Later in the day. So I thought that was interesting. She created a little stir there, and I could sense that she was certainly frustrated with some of the comments that came in. Later in the day, she posted some photos of herself in a bikini, and talked about how disc golf has ruined, has created these tan lines. I shouldn't say ruined, created these tan lines for her. And as one would expect, with so many of the females in our sport, a picture is posted, and then immediately it's like rabid, just these dogs and slime balls, and everyone comes out and just gets way over the top and completely forgets that there's still things like manners and like decency when it. I know it's the internet. I know I'm contradicting myself, but good gosh, I was gonna say good God, that offended somebody. Good God, people, like a little restraint. Show a little bit of restraint when you're addressing any woman, any person of any race.
Now there's,
but good gosh, people, just like, and I guess Holly comes up as the here and now today.
Mm-hmm.
It could have been a photo of any one of our women. Usually it's the women that are getting a little more chastised or aggressively stalked than the men in our sport. Call it stereotypical, but good God, people,
I'm gonna get
a little restraint.
I'm gonna get yelled at for this. I know I am. This is not going to come over good.
Great.
Can I warn everybody right now? And I don't mean any disrespect by it.
I think Disc Golf Answer Man, they play a disclaimer saying what you're about to hear is not really reflective of BD, and it's
this is not reflective of anything but me,
especially me.
No, and it's not. I don't think it's really that bad. Do you? She's been on the internet a long time. She's been on social media a long time.
Yeah.
I'm not saying she does not have the right to post these pictures. She clearly does, and it's her prerogative. And nobody should be making lewd or rude comments when she does it. She has to expect that they're coming. At this point, when she posts them.
I don't. They don't come as surprises to her.
Okay. And,
I
mean, if and this is not to blame her this is not any sort of quote unquote victim blaming by any means, but at this point, she's been around long enough. She's seen what is coming and going when she posts. She knows whether or not it's appropriate or not. When she posts something specifically like that, you're going to get a lot of people come out of the woodwork. You know, I see you have it up right now, and underneath of that is a picture of her and a giraffe. Perfectly fine. Someone makes a comment like that, completely inappropriate. Someone makes a comment on the other pictures, the bikini picture she has, still inappropriate, but more expected, I'll say. And
sure.
And again, whether it's right or not, it's not right. She has to know that it's coming. Whether or not she's whether or not she cares or not is a whole nother subject. But correct, people try. If you don't like it, ignore it. I mean, it's fine. I'm just saying.
I'll be the first to admit, I love just reading the comments.
It shows you kind of who is uncouth, who doesn't realize, and whether it's on purpose or whether they're flat out just ignorant of what they're saying. Two different things.
Do you realize other people can read this?
Yes. No, you realize that this isn't like a fake account you've created, right?
Yeah, I just and I'm not picking on Holly. I'm not picking on any of the women in our sport. But unfortunately,
check them up. It's on Facebook, not on Instagram.
Yeah, I see this all the time, and we always talk about why don't more women play, and I think because women get to the course and they're just immediately like just attacked, not physically, but just attacked in so many different ways.
There's a spotlight shown on them to the point where maybe they're not comfortable with it.
It's just really...
Chris Cobb asks, do I think she's doing it for the attention? I don't know.
Maybe she is. Maybe she's not. But
maybe she's doing it for a little bit of attention. I don't think she needs it, though. So I don't know.
I'd say even if she is, let's just say she called into the show right now, as she lives 45 minutes from here. Not that matters, but called in and said, "Yeah, I like the attention. I'd be okay with that."
Yeah.
But you can't tell me she's thinking, "Gosh, I'm gonna post these. I'm really hoping there's just some really lewd and ridiculous things posted when I do it."
Or maybe it's a good way to find out who is posting lewd things. You can block them.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, maybe it's
like bait.
Yeah, it's a bait.
Or trolling, as they're saying.
Trolling or baiting.
She's reverse trolling in a sense.
She's Chris Hansening them.
Yes. It's just I don't know.
How come you've come to this website with a bottle or with a 6-pack of Zima?
Yeah, exactly. So whatever. Anyway, I saw her this weekend. I consider Holly a friend. She's done some amazing things
Yes.
for disc golf.
She won this past weekend.
And
She's
helping,
played,
yeah.
She played very well.
She won by 22
Yeah.
strokes.
Yeah, she crushed the field, and she plays very well in the woods. Sandy Point is a tight course.
Yep.
And she just played phenomenally.
Yeah, so congratulations to her. But a couple of her posts today, it's like so fun. It's funny how we'll say polar opposite they were. Everything from her shooting a gun and kind of getting, some conversation about that, all the way to then later, some of her self put out bikini pictures. Have some just a little restraint, people. Just
Restraint
a
and respect.
Yes.
Let's start there.
It's just amazing. Anyway.
All right, so
that was a tangent. It's funny because I thought of it earlier in the day. I was like, I don't know if that's an appropriate. Yeah, I think it's a perfectly fine tangent. We have so few women in our sport that want to be here or that are here, and then if you just treat them horribly.
We were saying at Northwoods they had a really good turnout for the women. They had eight pro women and 8 amateur women, correct?
Yeah, I believe that's what it was.
Yeah, we had 16 women show up to this event this weekend, and that's good for any size event almost.
Yeah, which is too bad though. When you still look at it, it still fits the generic PDGA numbers of roughly 5% or 7%. 5 to 8%. Yeah, 7%. I mean, it was a little better than 8%. Because there's 216 people, I believe 16 of them were women.
Sure.
So it's just exactly that, just about at that.
That 5% range.
Yeah, 7, 8, technically 8 point something percent. But
let's move on from that subject. Let's do. I've got a pick this week.
Okay. Yeah, good, because I don't probably.
I started a new audiobook called Seven Eves. Which is
I think of Summer's Eve.
That's a totally different thing.
No,
okay. Seven Eves. It is. I forget who even is it. It's not a Ken Follett book.
Oh, it's not 2 words. See, that's
no.
Had I known it wasn't 2 words, I may not have gone to Summer's Eve.
It's a Neil Stephenson book. It's a story about. It's a science fiction story. Mm-hmm. Surprise, surprise. About Earth. And what would happen if the moon blew up? Like, for some reason, they don't know how it happened, but the moon suddenly kaboom into like 7 big chunks, 7 Eves. And how that affects Earth and what happens when basically what happens is it's going to kind of ruin the Earth. And they get.
There are tidal waves?
No, they actually go into explain, which I didn't realize, that everyone always talks about how the moon affects the tides, but actually the sun affects them more than the moon. And I don't know how true that is, but I think this book is pretty science-based, and they say that it actually wouldn't affect it that badly. But it's a really good sci-fi book. What happens to the planet Earth when basically the moon's about to just more or less wipe out the planet Earth because of the debris and the downfall, whatever, and how the people cope and what happens. And it's long. This audiobook is like 42 hours long.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, let me backtrack. What is a typical audiobook length? And I know books vary, but a 200-page book.
Probably about 10 hours. I read, right before this, I read the Veronica Mars book, Mr. Kiss and Tell, which is
you had it read to you. You mean?
I had it read to me.
Okay,
Correct.
So don't say I read.
I listened. I listened to it. I listened to the audiobook. I tend to do. I know. I tend to do kind of a light book, and then I'll get into something a little bit more heavy. Okay. And this book is so the Veronica Mars book was like 11 hours, I think.
Okay.
And I listened to just like I do my podcast. I listen to it at a faster speed. This one particularly, I slowed down to 1.25 instead of 1.5 because there is a lot of techno garble. They really get into a lot of details about, how people are going to survive, communities, space travel, underwater, tunnels. How will we survive? What will we do with our legacy? All the information that we have. How do we store it? Where do we put it? Things like that.
I got to assume the main character is based on like Nicolas Cage. He would play it.
Yes.
Okay, go on.
But it is funny because obviously all these people are fictional, but you can clearly see how some of them are more or less based on real people. There is a Neil deGrasse Tyson kind of character. There is they talk about a Malaya. the woman out of, I believe, Africa that was that had some nasty things happen to her. But there's a character like that. There is a presidential character, and it's a very good sci-fi book. It's very technobabble, but it is 42 hours. So yeah. And yeah, audiobooks, it is on Audible. Audiobooks are pretty awesome, simply because I can just listen to it while I'm at work. I don't catch all of it. Sometimes I do have to hit rewind. I hit the 30-second back button, but I started this book on the way up to Northwood. So I listened to it on the way there, and then I listened to some of it, a little bit of it on the way back, and I listened to it all day today. Very well done book, and I'm thinking I might actually dig into more from this author. So,
all right.
Seven Eves, Seveneves, Seven Eves.
Seven Eves.
Yep. Because that's how many chunks the moon was blown into.
Does it? Yeah, and there's 7 days of the week. I mean, I'm
Has
know
nothing
where
to
they're
do with
going
days
with
of the
this.
week. But
I think it does.
oh,
You'll see. It'll all piece together at the
I
end
only
for you.
I only have 16 hours to go, so I should be able to finish this. No, I'm sorry, 14 hours. I may be able to finish it, not tomorrow, but the next day. So we'll see. I just put it on. I love to listen to it. I love audiobooks.
Okay. Chris Cobbett asked thoughts on Golf is Not a Game of Perfect. Funny you asked that, Chris, because many years ago when there was conversation about how to improve your mental toughness and how to get better in disc golf, that was one of the books that was out, one of the few books, I'll say, it seemed like, in that area, and I actually own it. I have no idea where it is now, obviously, all these years later. I vaguely even remember it, so if I cared about golf, it might be worth going out and rereading it, because I'm sure everything's still applicable all these years later. But it talks about mental toughness and things of that nature. So, and I'm sure now there are dozens, if not hundreds, of other books. There's probably YouTube and other podcasts you could download that talk specifically about mental toughness and focus and things of that nature. So I'm sure that you could go out and find those these days. And I'm glad to see our entire contingency is now all just concerned about where they're going to find the pictures I was just talking about a few minutes earlier on Facebook.
Yeah, there's some funny comments. Not inappropriate either, just more funny than anything else.
Yes.
So.
And speaking, I guess, to tie it together real quick, when we cover some of the women, that's usually a concern that we've had out there too, is a lot of the guys that get on and watch our live broadcast feel like it's okay to make inappropriate comments right there.
Yep.
And we have bans and we have things to go about, stopping that and trying to shut down that conversation. And we've been pretty blessed that for the most part, our smashies and the conversation has gone in a good direction. But that's another just cesspool of issues where we've seen it, because we cover the women for a round. And these might be our best women in the world. And just, sometimes people get on a keyboard and decide that that's the perfect time to be completely inappropriate.
Yeah. I usually give someone a warning, depending on how bad it is. And if it's really bad, I just block them immediately.
Yeah, so that ends that.
Sometimes there's no coming back.
Anyway, I don't know if I have anything else out there, ladies and gentlemen. It's been pretty crazy in that I saw both my 4 and 6-year-olds go to school. My 6-year-old went to school Friday. My 4-year-old had her first bus experience today. Everything went well, and I was planning on being at the IDGC in some capacity, but it doesn't really look like it's going to work that way. There was no specific we'll say sponsorship or plan or whatever to be there. I would have liked to be there, but nothing really unfolded in any certain situation, so I'm not going to be at the final NT of the year, which is going to be weird, because I think I've been at 5 out of the 6. So to not see it unfold in person is going to not be awesome. But whatever. I guess that's the way it's going to go. And I'm looking forward to some USDGC. And September might be a little bit more calm than normal. Oh, before I forget. I did recently, just yesterday, depending on when you're listening to this, probably not live, but I did recently release the final video blog from the U.S. Masters. I had the opportunity to catch up with the Pro Master women, which included Debbie Scott, Des Redding, and Elaine King. So I got them for through 4 or 5 holes as they wrapped up their round, and then I literally rushed over as quickly as possible, got in a car, rushed over, and caught up with the Grandmasters as they were wrapping up hole 17 and hole 18. It was still actually kind of dramatic and fun and exciting to watch. So that video blog was released on Monday, Labor Day.
Okay.
And in the next 24 to 48 hours, you're going to be seeing, I'm kicking it back a little old school, finally, the Nick Hyde exhibition round that took place in April.
Nice.
I'm trying to get back, caught up on some of the previous editing that I have. You're going to see some Masters Cup stuff that I still have in the works and some other stuff. But the Nick Hyde exhibition round, which featured Greg Barsby, Jeremy Colling, Jared Rohn, and Bobby Music of Legacy. So you're going to see the front and the back 9 of those released within the next few days, or maybe you've already watched them by the time you're listening to this. So
Let's hope so.
I just had to get the plug out there that you're going to see some more video blogs coming from me, even as things start to slow down.
Matt Siri says, finally! So
Hey, Matt, you're on the board. Good.
yeah, he's pretty happy about
Shoot,
that.
now I should really do that. I was just making that stuff. No, I'm just kidding. No, I do. I am excited to have those published and ready for you guys to see.
Well, I think we've kind of covered everything. I don't believe there's going to be an after show today.
No.
This is more of a unique show because we didn't have a guest and there wasn't a lot of news. I think next week we'll definitely have a guest, and we'll have a lot more to talk about after the last NT of the year.
It might be a little more structured. It might not be, though.
You can never count on us to be structured.
No.
There's no point.
You want structure? Go find another disc golf podcast. I think.
No,
I think they're structured.
Don't scare them away.
I don't know. Maybe not.
When do we get to see the Terry versus Johnny V round? Terry did do some filming. He did not film the entire round. I don't think he wanted his round filmed. I didn't really want some of the 15-foot putts I missed filmed. And I have a tendency to look at my form and just realize how bad my form is. So I'm glad nobody gets to see that unless you play with me, because it is bad. I do some phenomenal things with as bad as my form is. I'll say that. And I do some really bad things as well. But anyway, let's close out this show. Let's
Alrighty.
blow this popsicle stand.
So for Dana Vici, who joined us tonight, stayed a little late. Love to him and his wife and his little baby girl. For Johnny V and myself, Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, you have just consumed episode number 52. We will see you, of course, next week at 9 p.m. Central on Tuesday, September 15th.
That's right.
We'll see you then when you step inside the Smash Box.